Hello, everyone. How are you doing? Sorry, a little bit slow on this one. We had some traffic problems going on. Um, if again, guys, if you guys can hear me and everything's good, please, make sure you leave your comments and everything. We have a really cool one this time around. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe and make sure you get all of these things ready so you can get the the notifications when we go live. But without further ado, um, I'm going to introduce to a young, lovely lady that I met a few years ago, and we hit it off. She was introduced to me by a person that I kind of know. Most of you guys kind of know him as well, but fortunately, something great came out of that also ran friendship that I have with Esteban Gil. But anyways, I'm going to introduce to you guys none other than Miss Mandy Wright. I'm good. All right, so you're gonna have if you guys can hear us good. It says that everybody. We got a couple of comments saying that everything's good. Make sure that you lean into your mic on it. There you go. Perfect. um, but we'll get that. We'll get that going. Actually, no. Now you can go in.
Hi. Oh, did you not turn my mic on?
No, I didn't turn your mic on. I was just
Okay.
testing you. So,
Hello,
there you go.
everybody.
Now everybody's there.
Yeah.
So, I was just that's the way it works.
Okay.
I get a little rusty because I
Yeah.
don't do these too
If you don't like
often.
what I'm saying, you just press
Yeah,
the
I'll
mute
just
button.
I'll just mute it. I'll
Okay.
just mute it
Got it.
on that. But anyways, hey, thank you so much
Oh,
for being here. Whatever. But as you know, this is GTS, so we got obviously Gikoto, then we have tequila, and we're gonna
Mhm.
do some really good, not shots, but we're gonna sip, especially for this
Mhm.
one. I'm really really excited about this tequila, because I've actually for this tequila for a couple of years. I couldn't get my hands on it or whatnot. It's actually an extra añejo. I'm not too keen into drinking like extra añejos. Even añejos sometimes to me are a little bit too much. But I've heard nothing but great stuff about this one. This one is like Germán Gonzalez, who's a master tequilero in Mexico. Has does in these in very small batches, so it gets pretty kind of hard to get. But I'm really really excited. So what we're gonna be drinking today is here, Tears of La Llorona, number 3, extra añejo. It's a beautiful bottle. So actually, I'm gonna let you open this one up.
Okay.
So
I do like you still keep all the bottles. I don't get to keep.
no, you don't. Not that one.
It's beautiful.
No, it's just there you go. So I
Oh,
think it's
this right
got
here?
tap on top, pull down, kind of. There you go.
Got it. We got it.
Awesome, awesome. And as guys, as you know, I love tequila. I don't necessarily do shots, especially now that I'm getting, in
Yeah.
my
Shy away
older
from
age,
them
so
too.
and then trying to get, so but if you guys don't know, this is actually the best type of glasses that you can get for tequila sipping and all that stuff, just because it holds the smell very well and all of the areas. So as you can see, actually, you can't see, but I'm going to put them right over here. We have 3 glasses. If you do us the favor, Mandy, and pour some of those into.
Are these technically like Scotch glasses, or are they just like?
So no, they're
What are
they're
they?
for different things.
Okay.
They're not necessarily like, oh, this is for tequila. No, this is for any spirit that you can pick.
Yep.
Oh, that's
How much are we starting off with?
that's good. We're gonna
All
start off with
right.
that right there. So, guys, if you guys have absolutely any questions during all of this, please don't hesitate to go ahead and put them in the comments. We'll go through that. I'm really excited about what we're going to be talking today. Throughout the this meeting, and see how much of it we can get to. But it's outside we've had Sophia, here and stuff like that. But to have always a woman's perspective in you know the photography in an industry that has been male dominated for so long is actually really really exciting for me. Just because, well, I've been in the industry for a very very long time, and as we know, it's been, dominated by males, and now you ladies are coming in and just rocking in every aspect of the thing, and it's just really excited. So I want to definitely pick your brain about a lot of these things that are kind of happening and get a different kind of perspective, and we'll get a little bit detailed. Again, if
Okay.
you guys have any questions or anything, please post them. But first of all, I'm going to give you the chance to introduce yourself, talk a little bit about yourself and everything that you do, and then we'll go on.
Okay. So yeah, my name is Mandy Wright. I'm originally from Canada, and like you
Hey,
said, hey, met you a few years ago at
that would be PPI, wasn't it?
yeah, maybe or
Yeah.
an
Or imaging. It
imaging,
was imaging. That's right.
imaging. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, great friends pretty much ever since. A lot of fun nights out and
Absolutely.
yeah,
No, it's been
it's been
fantastic.
good.
But
So yeah, so I got started in photography probably 12 years ago or so, but then really started with the weddings about 8 years ago. Um, I went to school for completely unrelated
like
career.
most of us.
Yeah, and eventually kind of found photography along the way. And at that point, I knew that I liked working with a camera, but weddings was the only way at that point that I saw like a career path, I guess. And it could probably just have been what I'd been introduced to. So I thought, hey, I'm going to try and be a wedding photographer. And it sort of took off very quickly from there. And I've been loving it ever since. I've been able to combine my love for travel with my career, which has been awesome.
Which you do a lot of destination weddings, don't you?
Yeah, quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I last year won a month. Was still like a full-time business local in
Yeah.
Canada. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
that's quite a bit.
So I feel very lucky that it's continued to go on that way. I feel, it's hard. It's hard getting those clients, and when everything's going well, it's like, wow, like how's this happening? Like, why are
Yeah.
people trusting me to to do
It's
this?
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
What a lot of people don't understand is a wedding is just it's a lot of pressure to begin with. But when you take on a responsibility of capturing somebody's day in a different country, in a different, it's got its own set of challenges when it comes
It
in.
does. Yeah.
A lot of people think it's all, glitz and glamour, and oh, I get to travel, and I'm in
Hmm.
Mexico, and I'm in Europe, and I'm here. But what they don't realize is that all the stuff that kind of has to happen beforehand
Yeah. And
with that
even while
stuff.
you're there, it's like it's not a vacation. I feel like I get that from people. I mean, I get that from people outside of the industry who are just like, oh well, you're always traveling, you're always on a trip. And I'm like, work.
Yeah,
I'm working.
yeah, it's not.
But
It's
even in the industry, a little bit too, where it people, yeah, see it as glamour, and I don't know, and but it's work and it's hard, and yeah, there's a lot of extra stress and challenge along with it.
what's one thing that you think that most people don't take into consideration when or something even when you first started that you were like, oh, I was not ready for this. You know what? Hold on, before we start
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
let's get on
Yeah.
to
Okay.
this. Let's get to this real quick.
Okay. Yeah. Let's do
All
this.
right, so I'm gonna switch the camera over to you.
Okay.
All right, so yeah, be shy.
All
All right,
right.
cheers.
Cheers.
I'm so excited on
Is this the first time you've had this one?
this. I've never had this. This is the
Okay.
very first time I've ever had this. So I'm
It
like,
smells delicious.
oh,
It's so smooth.
okay, guys. So
Wow.
one of the
It's
things that this tequila has compared to all of the other ones is that this one's aged for like 5 years.
okay. Yeah.
And it's aged in like cherry barrels, or cherry, I don't know, cherry,
Oh,
whatever barrels. I'm sorry, guys,
yeah.
but and along with some oak barrels at the
Okay.
same time. I think they change barrels, like every 2 years or something like that.
That's interesting.
It's
It's really
delicious,
good.
and I'm not
There's like
I'm
lots
not
of notes
actually
going on. I am not
yeah,
into
and I'm not
analyzing and
even
tasting things, but like, yeah,
and I'm not
this is
even like I said, I'm a purist. I love blancos. I love and stuff like
mhm.
that. I'm not
This is way on the
big
other
into
end of the
this.
spectrum
Yeah,
for you.
absolutely. But this is delicious.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Mm. All right, let's go back. Sorry, guys. Didn't
Yeah.
mean to break
No,
momentum
that's
there.
true. This is important too.
But yeah, like I was,
Yeah.
what were some challenges when you first started that you were like, oh my god, like this is I wasn't ready for
Right.
this.
It's like it's very obviously you have no one else to rely on in those situations. I feel like when you're shooting in your market and your community, something goes wrong, you have someone to rely on, someone
Mm,
else to ask or back, like in any, like if gear breaks or run a problem by someone, or I'm sick, can someone step in? I need an assistant. When you're traveling, like you often lose all of that, like all support systems. So if something goes wrong with your gear, you're the only one there to troubleshoot it. And if you have a question for someone, sometimes you're in a different time zone and they're not up, and you're like, okay, I can't. I have to figure this out on my own.
yeah.
Or if you're sick, not feeling well, or you need assistance, so you have to. There is no other option in most cases. You have to
Uh,
kind of pull through. So, yeah.
so do you when you do these weddings? I mean, are you alone? Are you shooting these by
So
yourself?
I do shoot the majority of them alone. And in some cases, so I have, because of those pressures, I have built some small communities and support systems in different places where I travel to often. So
Hmm.
I do have contacts. Like I'm in Mexico like, a lot.
Well, I know, like,
So I have a
yeah,
lot of friends there now that I'm like,
like last year, I knew there were,
yeah.
every other, month,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I'm in Mexico. I'm like, oh, I was
Yeah.
like, did you ever come back?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. I was there for at least the full month of February. I rented a little apartment in Playa del Carmen for
yeah.
in between weddings. But yeah, I think I shot maybe 8 weddings in Mexico last
Awesome.
year. So yeah.
What's the average weddings that you shoot a year?
Um, 20 to 30.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's a good number.
Yeah. So I had like 12 or 13 travel weddings last year, and probably 15 of my own, and then another like 10 or 15 I shot with him. So last year was pretty busy. Um, but yeah, so just making so yeah, and so I am traveling alone most of the time, but occasionally in the bigger weddings I have to bring people or hire
Yeah.
people, and
Awesome,
yeah.
cool. All right, so how long have you been in the industry, in the photo industry?
Since 20 or 14, 15,
20,
15,
20
15.
in the
Oh,
in
15. So I
the
guess it is about 10 years.
yeah.
I
Boy.
feel like I say I've been doing it for a certain amount of time and I never increase the number. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden time goes on and I'm like, wait a minute.
No.
It's been 8 years for 2 years. Yeah. So I think I shot my first wedding in 2015.
Hmm.
And that was my first real taste of any photography industry, really. Before that, it was just a few ads on something like Craigslist
Yeah.
in Canada. For a couple like couples photo shoots, and then I
Uh,
made a post for a wedding, got a booking, and the next year it had really snowballed and I had a full calendar from then on out. So
Holy smokes. Okay.
so it happened very quickly.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously 10 years is, I mean, that's a career. I mean, that's a decade of being within the industry.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you have seen that have changed in the last 10 years from when you first started, compared to, let's say,
Mm.
now?
That's so interesting because I feel like I have these conversations a lot with Esteban and some of our good friends about is trying to gain, I guess, some perspective on if it's the industry changing or if it's us evolving within the industry, because,
Mhm.
we're constantly growing and our businesses are changing. And are we moving into different markets and having different experiences because of where we are personally? Or is the industry itself actually evolving very
Yeah,
fast?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
it feels like a lot of stuff is different from when I started. I think the biggest thing is what people are looking for from their photographers, like style wise, what they're providing, how people are looking for photographers now versus how they were before.
What's a big change in
So
that
social
part?
media for sure. Like at the beginning, I put all my energy into keeping up a website and ads and drawing people in that way. And I feel like I haven't updated my website and it's bad, but probably four
Uh-huh.
years. Um,
So the
This
major
no one goes to my website. I
yeah.
mean, sometimes I get emails through like my contact page on there for
Uh-huh.
sure, but no one's looking there for my work or for any information about me. They're following me on social media, and that's
Okay.
the biggest thing I think is keeping up with that. And I can say like hands down that is why I have a travel and destination career is strictly from social
From
media.
social media.
Yep,
So
location tagging,
yeah,
and making sure that I'm posting like work from when I'm or sorry, personal photos from when I'm traveling. And
yeah.
so all of that combined is for sure what got me the first few ones. And it's just sort of snowball from
Gone from
there.
there.
But yeah, that's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, no, which is awesome. I mean, because I think one of the things that everybody kind of asks for, all the time is like, at least when I started, it was very different because the majority of my clients were not local. They were all from outside of Texas
Yep.
or outside of the U.S. And they kept asking me that question, like, how do you get these clients? I'm like, I don't know. I generally don't know.
Yeah.
At that time, social media was, in its infancy.
Mhm.
A lot of blogging was a huge thing
Yes.
back in the day.
Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah. You don't, do you have a blog?
Uh, I did,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah. Do we
literally
blog
quit.
is there a blog for Geekoto or anything like that?
There is. We have
Okay.
more like press releases and stuff like
Right.
that, but
Okay.
they're not. We do a
Yeah.
lot
Not
of
a lot of
social
focus on
media,
it.
and
Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
Um, and that was one of the things that I had for the most part. That when people would ask, because I hated blogging, I hated it. Like, I mean, I maybe
Yeah.
did 15 blogs my entire career, and I hated it.
Yeah.
And when Instagram came in, that's when I jumped like feet first, just boom,
Hmm.
all in with that, and that's when I kind of had things kind of change. Um, so for you, social media has been a big,
Yeah.
a big not, I mean, a big advocate for you and the way that it has really kind of helped
100%.
your
And it's it's
career.
it's weird too because it's not like I have a huge following. I honestly don't put a ton of effort into social media, not as
Mhm.
much as I could. But obviously what I do have going on there has been working for me so
That's great.
far. But
Yeah,
yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So let's you know, since we're talking about social media, I'm sure that's gonna kind of come
Yeah.
back come back around. What's something let's say somebody would say, what are three things that you do that you see a lot of traction from the post or whatever it is.
Specific to social media or just getting business?
I think let's say getting business.
Just getting business?
Yeah.
Um really building the relationship with the client. And I'm not the one to ask to hang out with them or like that type of thing, but specifically when I'm traveling for a wedding, if I'm invited to um, the rehearsal dinner or any other events on either side of the wedding and I'm available and able to go.
Uh huh.
And I'm often invited without any kind of expectation for work. Sometimes I'm hired and obviously I'm doing that. But if I'm
Yeah.
just invited to be a guest, I'm going to those just for the networking.
Okay.
Um,
That's all. Yeah. Okay.
like, yeah, like I'm like, okay, this sounds like a drag. I don't know anybody. Like they're all there. Like this is gonna
Yeah.
be a weird thing for the photographer to attend as a guest, but
Yeah.
the payoff for doing that has been very good.
Yeah.
The by far my favorite wedding to date was just this past October in Italy, and that wedding I can say I got from going to a rehearsal dinner for a different wedding 2 years prior. I got sat next to the groom of that wedding
Uh
during the dinner, and we chatted. And then later on, they ended up reaching out to me, and he was engaged, and they were starting to plan a wedding. And I can say that it's because I went there, met someone, and
that you got
yeah.
that
So like
booking.
being
Okay.
personable, taking every chance you can to network with people. When it comes to social media, I would say utilizing everything we have on there. So location tagging, hashtags, using like local hashtags. Now that we can do like collaborative posts, including all the vendors,
Hmm.
especially if it's in another place where you want to work in the couple and all of that, just to get like that further reach. So just making sure that you're actually taking the time to do all of those little things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't just make a
They
post for the
just,
sake
yeah.
of make a post. Like yeah, and this is why I struggle with keeping up with social media is
Yeah.
because when I do make a post, I'm like, okay, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to make sure all these people are tagged. Like, if I'm gonna make something, I want to make sure that I'm getting as much reach as possible.
Yeah. So that's actually a really good segue into what I want to start kind of talking about. So for the first one, like I said, just through the years that I've been in
Hmm.
in the in the industry or whatever, I've definitely seen you kind of like the role of women, um, definitely be much bigger than what it used to be, which is
Hmm.
awesome. To you, like, what is the evolving role of women, in within photography, within the industry, or just in like creative industries, but themselves?
Mhm.
Like, what do you think is? I mean, what have you seen? Like, we were kind of talking a little
Yeah.
bit,
Well,
the role of
yeah.
women.
Yeah. Well, like when I got into this, like I obviously knew it was male dominated,
Hmm.
but like I was raised being told that I could do anything I wanted, and I never really thought that I couldn't do something because like I had that mentality, which I know a lot of other people aren't so lucky, and they may grow up thinking that they are limited by that. Um, so when I got my first camera from my dad, he's a photographer. So
Oh,
he
so your dad's a photographer.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
that's
yeah. And he's
awesome.
not
Yeah,
professional. He just
yeah,
like,
but
but yeah, long time hobbyist
uh
and
huh.
yeah, for landscape mostly. Yeah. So I learned a lot of what I started out with from him. Um, and so I went in like not really realizing that there could be challenges to that. And it wasn't until I was already in the industry where there was definitely like instances where I felt it and was like, oh, okay.
What were share some of those? Because here's the thing,
Hmm.
as a male, yes, I saw a lot of that stuff,
Yeah.
and even if I tried to do, I'm still a man.
Hmm.
So I'm curious, and I definitely want to know, like, what can be done to better help that evolution,
Right.
of women, creatives and stuff like that in the industry. So,
Yeah.
what are some examples that you say that, like, oh, I felt them.
Um, being at a wedding where I had second shooters who are male or assistants who are male, and people like guests or the couple going to them first, like to
Okay.
because I what seems like appeared to be the leader or
Yeah,
the
yeah.
head of the team. So those types of things where it's like that's interesting, like um, just fine. Just I mean, of
No,
course,
but was it
inappropriateness.
that
All
though? I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah. Inappropriateness, of course, which is way more
oh,
like I mean,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. There's every woman photographer probably has 1,000 stories.
yeah,
Um, yeah,
yeah. I'm
of things
sure.
that they've dealt with. Um, and so I think that more and more as women are in the industry and taking on these roles, I'm not experiencing that as much. And this is another thought like I had of is the industry changing or is like my is how where I'm going changing? If you, like am I not like I don't tolerate that as much
Uh huh.
anymore, you know? So maybe it's
Okay.
not
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
am I walking in with more authority and more like is there something changing within me
Uh
that
huh.
this isn't happening as much or is the industry actually like evolving and getting better that way? So
Yeah.
I sort of a lot of these things I struggle with is it just my perspective that's
Yeah.
changing or my experience? Yeah.
Which, I mean, it could be definitely be both. Just the
Yeah.
fact that a lot of the women are, are a little bit more prevalent within the industry
Mhm.
themselves. One, and then two, that you guys are, just having because of it, you guys are taking it a lot more serious.
Mhm.
So that could
Yeah.
be just the evolution of the thing. So I mean, that's
Yeah.
definitely it's great. It's something that definitely is behind,
Yeah.
a lot of the things. So one question, and actually this question was something. If you guys have come across something like this, put it in the comments. But one of the things that I was having a discussion with a photographer the other day, and this individual's perspective was like, oh, I'm not booking as many weddings because there's more women, and women like are getting favorite, like it was a favoritism type
Oh,
thing.
okay.
And I was like, really? I was like, or is it that you just suck now,
Yeah.
compared to
Yeah.
what's out there?
Mhm.
Um, and then the individual kind of took offense to it,
Mhm.
and I was like, but
But
you cannot think, oh, I'm not getting this because of women.
yeah. And I feel like being the underdog, like you're fighting harder, you're maybe trying new things, you're pushing yourself harder because you need to prove yourself in the industry. So
Yeah,
yeah, very well could be that women are turning out to be maybe
better.
better or like more
Absolutely,
yeah,
yeah.
or but I think like weddings specifically, like different people and especially females and males like bring different things to the table. Like
Yeah. No,
right?
absolutely,
Hmm.
absolutely. And so here's a great example. I mean, so I was a great when I did a lot of weddings and stuff like that. But there are things that women, in my opinion, are just better in just the fact that I never did boudoir, never
Yeah.
did anything. And I had a lot of clients that were like, hey, I was thinking about this. And I was like, you know what? There's actually great photographers out there that just do boudoir. And here are some names, which I always recommended women, because in my opinion, again, my opinion, is, women have that extra little
Hmm.
and it may be a delicate touch or whatever. And this is not throwing stones at any. I mean, Sean Black, he's one of our ambassadors, and he does boudoir, and
Yeah.
he's amazing. Him and his wife are an amazing team, and they do stuff. And actually, I met Sean by putting my foot in my mouth by saying exactly what I'm saying. On this, but there are things, and you can definitely tell when, or at least I can, when a female, you know, is involved in the capturing of a wedding,
Hmm.
you can definitely, see it.
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree. There's like, I mean, again, it kind of depends on the people specifically, because
Yeah.
I've definitely met male photographers who I'm like, oh wow, like you're doing all the things that I feel like I'm like you're
Yeah.
got that covered, but it's a lot of detail stuff, like this a softness, a
Yes.
delicacy, there's something, and I think that this is one reason why Esteban and I really sorry really work together well is we do have kind of total opposites, and they do like blend well together, and I do think I'm really far on the feminine side of it when it
Hmm.
comes to this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, great that you kind of brought the details part, because me as a man, like I hated details. I
Yeah.
I and if you saw the majority of the stuff that I did, like,
Just paying attention to
yeah,
stuff, like anything, like the
details
necklaces the
were,
wrong way, the earrings, the hair,
yeah,
like all those little like just the little finite
yeah, they
stuff
were
that
intricacies and stuff like that.
yeah.
Absolutely. No, I mean, and again, I'm glad that this, whether it's the industry that is changing, or whether, which I think is a combination of both, of
Mhm.
female being taken more serious about it, and that itself is changing the industry. So how do you kind of balance, because you're very passionate about you,
I
so,
am.
like,
Yeah.
the artistic passion with, like, the business success, because I mean, obviously you're running a very successful business, you've been successful, I mean, you've been around for a decade now. um
It's crazy to hear you say that actually,
yeah,
because
it's
I
it
feel like
is,
in my
right?
mind, I have not actually, realized.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
what's the balance, to keep that artistic passion, and then, and obviously continue, to grow a successful business.
Well, I can say that the business side has not always been the strong suit for me. I mean, obviously I'm doing okay, but I know that that's the area for sure that I need to improve on.
Mhm.
But I think for a lot of us, we're more of the artist than the business,
And which
the
is
businesswoman. Yeah.
absolutely, and it's one
So
of the
it is.
things that
Yeah.
I learned very early, and I'm sorry to
No,
cut you
no,
off.
go ahead.
It's one of those. It was most artists are terrible business owners, and business owners are not really necessarily. So to try to blend that in, what is something that you have constantly done, that'd be like, okay, I need to work on this, like, this is, and steps that you have taken,
For business wise?
yeah, for the
Oh
business
boy.
part of it.
I feel like sometimes I'm barely staying afloat.
Yeah.
So, um, I think customer service, I guess,
Hmm.
or like staying on top of that. Like if I get an inquiry, I'm responding within like usually within 6 hours. I'm on top of answering emails and questions from my clients.
Hmm.
I don't like to be that I'm always available and that
Yeah.
type of thing. Like
Yeah.
there's boundaries, of course,
Absolutely.
but I'm very on top of communication and making sure that they feel like they're well taken care of. I hear time and time again about how organized I am. Um, and and I don't know, but I guess I give that impression because I'm not. Like
Mhm.
I'm not that organized, but like reviews constantly from brides like, yeah, she was on top of everything. Everything's so organized. She's got like I'm just like, wow, I love that I am giving off those vibes because in my head I'm a chaotic mess on the
Yeah.
business side. But I think making sure that the client feels like their priority and that they're being taken care of is has gone a long way for me.
No, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think kind of going back to the question before, staying like creative and making sure that's not getting old and dry, like constantly learning and like going to the conferences like this and
Uh-huh.
and building a community of other photographers that you can be creative with and bounce ideas off of. Um, trying like I'm constantly trying to learn new techniques, or if I inspiration from somewhere and how I can incorporate it into a
Yeah.
photo or something in the wedding. So just I don't know, trying to keep that side of it alive and not just get into routine. And you can get so used to like this my system's working really well. People love my photos, but I'm doing the same thing over and over
Yeah.
again and it's safe and I know what I'm doing, but just trying to always push yourself a little bit further. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the big things that a lot of photographers, and we all kind of, you know, go across that, where you just all of a sudden you just kind of feel like, okay, I hit this block where, what it is. And so you guys are here for imaging.
Yes.
Imaging's happening
Yep.
here. You guys are actually teaching a workshop tomorrow.
uh
Oh,
Saturday.
Saturday.
Yes,
Today's, yeah,
Saturday. I
on
was like,
Saturday.
oh my
Saturday
God,
morning.
it's tomorrow.
Yeah, on Saturday, Saturday
Saturday,
morning,
yeah.
which is the day
Yeah.
before imaging kind
Kicks
of
off.
starts
Yeah.
and all
Yeah.
that. So from I mean, obviously, and let's get into that.
Yeah.
With all of the kind of conferences, trade shows, and everything that kind of goes in, do you have kind of like a favorite that you've been like, oh, I really like this one because of X, or
Hmm.
and there's different things. Obviously, with Dakota, we go to a ton of them. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna stay away from that question, but I'm gonna throw that over to you.
Yeah, okay.
Um,
Hands down,
uh,
it's WPPI
so
is my favorite.
okay,
And that's for the networking.
okay,
I mean, I like Vegas anyway. So that has something to do with for sure the location. But I think the clientele that having it in Vegas
yeah,
that draws. I feel like a lot of the people I like to spend time with are there. It's always fun. There's always something exciting going on.
mhm,
I just feel like I've built a lot of really good connections from that
from
conference,
WPPI,
from WPBI
yeah.
specifically. I can say
So
that one is the one that I've made the strongest, like, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so with all of the, obviously there's a ton of conferences that are happening all the
Yeah.
time, new
Yes.
ones, new ones popping up or whatnot. Obviously there's been a major shift, from what imaging to WPPI, what they used to be, 10 to 15 years ago to what they are now. And then you have these very kind of small, you know, almost like homegrown little
Yeah.
that are really kind of kicking off and becomes a little bit more, what 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 do you think has been the major cause for the, I guess, the downshift of the big massive conferences?
That's a good question. I wish I don't know. I don't know. I
Mhm.
wish that it wasn't like this. Like even
Yeah.
I started going to WPPI 6 years ago. And just in that time, like I see a major shift in
Mhm.
what that conference looks like. Sad. It's sad for me.
Yeah.
Like I miss the bigger show. And
Yeah.
yeah. So we'll see what it's like this year. As long as it's still staying alive, I guess I'm happy. I don't really know. I Do you have any insight into why the bigger conferences are not what they used to be in this? Like I still think I have a mix of both of the bigger shows
Mhm.
and some of the smaller ones this year to attend. And I think I still always prefer the bigger ones over
Yeah.
the smaller ones.
I think they both have kind of like their pluses and minuses. I've been able and lucky enough to go to, not only here, in the
Yeah,
States,
but
but,
internationally,
internationally
yeah.
and stuff like that. I think one of the big things that, that I saw, especially, and I'm speaking specifically with the photo industry ones, is that I don't think they've actually evolved
Mm,
within the last few years,
yeah,
because it's not that the large trade shows, conventions are not drawing people in, because last year we went to the photographer, but then we also, since we launched a new branch of Gikoto, and we have a lot of stuff for streamers, content creators, all these little things that you guys see
yeah.
around here, it's ours, from lighting to everything else. So we added TwitchCon,
Oh,
to
okay.
our roster.
Yeah.
And TwitchCon was massive. I mean, you're
Oh,
looking at 100,000 people that were showing up, and there was this was all just content creators and
Yeah.
podcasters, gamers that were kind of showing up. So it's not that the big, but one thing that they did do is that things were so different,
Mm.
so different. They were listening to the what the people wanted. They were,
Yeah.
so they kind of tailored to what was there. And I think that's one of the things that's been happening with the major ones, the big ones, with the two big ones. And it's not that I'm picking on them; it's just that the ones that pretty much everyone knows,
Mhm.
that's been in the industry for a while, which is imaging, which is happening here in Texas, actually 20 minutes from us, at the Gaylord. And then WBPI in Vegas is
Yeah.
the fact that I have seen personally that they have just kind of failed to evolve, to kind of listen to what the new crowd, what the new, and
Mhm.
if you stick with the people that you currently have, great. But that is gonna keep shrinking and shrinking and shrinking if you
Yeah.
don't bring some of that, the
Yeah.
new over.
Yeah, actually, that makes complete sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I
Yeah,
mean
and I would agree with that, that is true.
yeah.
Um, mm,
And with the new, like, small ones that are kind of popping up, they're fresh, so you have a lot of the newer
yeah,
photographers that
yeah,
want
new
to,
and shiny
yeah,
and yeah,
they want to
exactly.
go and attend and stuff like that. Some of them are great, some of them are not.
Mhm.
We've had, given a shot to it. We tried to give a shot to everyone, and then obviously we figure out, what's going to be best and what's not. So, cool. All right. So we were
Yeah.
talking about social media, earlier. What do you think it's kind of like? What's the impact of social media on photography? Like, what do you
Oh,
think the impact of social media has been in not the photo industry? I'm just talking photography in general.
as a generalization, it's probably been negative, I would say.
Why?
Um, well, of course, AI is gonna be something that we'll talk about, I'm sure,
Yeah.
but
Oh,
yeah, I
absolutely.
mean,
Yeah.
like, that's the newest thing. I think that's probably impacting it. Um, when we're talking or, like, weddings or whatever other photography industry, I think it just being, again, the highlight reel, it's very highly curated. Um, so I feel like it's not a good picture.
Hmm.
Um, and I think, and I guess this isn't necessarily negative, it's just a change, but with the rise of social media and images, I think that the images that people are expecting from photographers sometimes are or more coming from how people are shooting themselves and posting on social media. So
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
less edited, more candid. Because they're used to seeing all these images that people are taking themselves, and I
Yeah.
feel like there's a lot of that influence coming in,
One of the
which isn't
things.
necessarily negative. It's
Yeah.
just that it depends on your perspective, I guess. But
Just recently, something that completely blew my mind, and I'm no longer shooting weddings. Um, but one thing that just kind of blew my mind was that couples are now hiring content
oh
creators
gosh,
to come to their
yes,
weddings.
yes.
Like, it's so this is a real
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah. So this is a real thing, 100%.
Okay,
So
please
the
elaborate.
so the third documentary team at a wedding, so photography, videography, and now you need someone specifically just to capture stuff for you to post to your social media more instantaneously,
Okay, but okay,
off the cuff,
a- and and this isn't.
with social media in mind, whereas I guess some people are hiring their videographers more of like the cinematic
Yeah.
and photography for albums and wall art, but now they want something specific just for social media. So with that in mind, I I don't love it at all.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So then now you have okay, how, well, I mean, so now you have, and some just random individual walking around with a 360 camera or a phone or some, and just to
Yeah.
give to, like, and they're charging for this,
Yeah.
like.
Yeah. So they're running businesses, yeah, and they're charging. Some of them are using, I think, real equipment. I think I saw might be able to jump in on this too because he's also kind of versed in. Had some deep conversations about this topic. Oh, yeah. Do you
Yeah.
even know what we're talking about? Okay,
All
it's
right.
fine. No.
So Christopher Benavides, he's actually a photographer. And if, I think he's in Arizona, but he does a lot of
Okay,
weddings in
yeah,
Vegas, and he just said in Vegas the content creators are almost all the weddings I shoot.
mm,
Okay, Chris, elaborate on that. Your clients are content creators, or you have clients that are hiring
yes.
content creators?
Yeah, I think that's what he means, like, because yeah, it's very common now to have that 3rd team.
That's
Yeah, so
insane.
they're
That's
hired,
I
like, they're professional, like, they're running a business, but I yeah, I mean, they're not, from what I understand, not always
do
it's
you
not
have you
always
had
it's not
these?
always behind the scenes, so, they want their own time, the couple, and that type of thing, so it's not necessarily BTS.
Okay,
So I have not personally worked with a content creator yet.
yeah.
Um,
Have you used that one?
but
Oh man, I would
I
have
mean,
an aneurysm if
my contract kind of prevents that.
because
I
yeah,
mean, if I was to enforce it,
yeah.
well, what do you mean? I mean, until it's, I mean, I haven't had to enforce it.
So
No,
Esteban said he
but
goes, it prevents it until somebody asks for it.
well, I'm not. Yeah,
Okay, well here,
yeah.
hop in real quick. Hop in and elaborate on this. You guys are gonna share a mic here. So
I guess. I
so
guess
everybody, in
it's.
case you don't know, this is Esteban Gil. He's
Can I do a dab? Then I'll
if,
show myself. Hi, Landon. Leo. Um. Well, I think we've had a conversation about content creator, and one of the arguments is always, well, my my contract states that I'm the only photographer that's allowed to be there. I guess the argument for that is, at the end of the day, it's kind of their day, and they should be allowed to have whatever vendor they want. Um, so it really just comes down to.
Disagree.
Wait, you disagree that the
so
couple
okay.
should have whatever vendor they want?
Well, yes, I do strongly disagree because I would think this is what we actually we've had this conversation.
Which is good.
If
Okay,
they
so
came
let's
to
have
if
the
they if
conversation.
they came to me hypothetically
Uh-huh.
and said it wasn't a social media creator, they came to me and said we're also hiring this other photographer, like both, so you're both going to shoot my wedding.
Okay,
Okay,
and you know
but
what I
but
would
but
say?
this
I'm not going
okay,
to.
all
Not
right.
gonna,
So all right. So in my contract, I also said that you couldn't hire a second photographer. But now, is a content creator a photographer,
yes.
or is a content? See, and I
No.
think that's
No.
okay. Now I think
No.
I understand what Esteban is kind of saying. On
Yeah,
this one.
it's a different.
Yeah, I
It's a
think
different
it's
industry.
where
Yeah.
you would definitely have to go into your contract and says maybe no other recording devices outside of the videography or so. That okay, all right. If you get
This could have
so
been a whole podcast.
yes,
Well, no,
all
I
right.
mean, I think that if for example, if they were to contact me and say, and obviously again, I'm saying my answers because it's never happened to me, so I could fairly well stick to my guns on this. And but if somebody says like, hey, we want to hire another photographer because we love their style, and if I'm really truly not able to provide that style and convince them that they do that at the end of the day, as long as I get my paycheck, I don't care.
Mhm.
That's
But do you
fine.
think you're going to be able to do a service to
It,
them with another? Like, do you
I think
actually?
that's a conversation that we would
Yeah.
have and say, well, there's a potential of something happening. I mean, maybe have a couple of them, but to
In,
go back to the point of like what you were saying, as far as like whether a content creator is actually a a photographer, I
Yeah,
don't think so. I think it's just a new way of the industry pivoting towards having a more affordable coverage from your weddings. I think
yeah,
it's going to affect videographers significantly more than photographers. I think that if you were to ask a videographer, well, would you be okay if I hired a content creator and you're doing the video? Like that's really treading
okay,
on like that whole like,
okay,
all
okay,
right, well
okay.
now you're kind of going
Yeah,
into that. But when you're dealing with photography, I think that at the end of the day, and I guess it's just I just don't feel like a content creator is going to create what I'm going to be able to create. There is the potential of them jumping in and actually making my job much more
harder,
and you won't be able to
difficult.
difficult.
create what you want to create
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
but that's
they're
something that
interfering.
that they're able to, just like whenever any conversation comes up with any client, we always tell them, well, we have to just be transparent about having a conversation with them and telling them the potential of having that other person there. So if they're okay with it, then that it is what it is. I don't really have too much issue with
Yeah.
In my adjustment when it comes to this, I do think it's just a matter of time before is
Yeah.
I will just offer content creation as an add-on and have someone that I am still in
Oh,
control.
okay. All
So
right.
that
Well,
is where
that's a
that is how I plan to pivot when I am faced with this.
okay, which is smart because now it's a
So you can
new
have content
avenue.
creation, but you have to
Yeah.
exclusivity.
Oh, like, oh, by the way, I was like, I'm glad you brought that up. We're actually content creators ourselves,
Yeah,
so
so
I'll just bring my content
it.
creation
Or
team.
I've worked with somebody that's really good, and
Yeah.
that's a way to like kind of get in with somebody that you feel comfortable with.
Yeah,
If you know a videographer that maybe they're going into it and you've worked with them in the past and
yeah.
you know what they're able to provide, then yeah, that's something to pivot with and then work out a deal with the videographer, or just the sense of just like saying like, hey, I like that you're really good to
Oh,
work with. Can we
look at
work with them in
look at the
this?
comments. Look at the comments. I think. All
People are
right, so
I
yeah.
feel like people are gonna be disagreeing with me.
So no,
a
so
lot.
one of the things. So
usually are.
Christopher said, a content creator is a videographer. Content creator is the one that I have worked with. They get all the BTS and they actually tag the videographer and photographer. Okay, so it's somebody that he works with.
And that's another thing too
The-
that if I could just really quickly add. A
Yeah.
lot of the time, the content creator is creating BTS for us too. Like
Uh,
I've seen
yeah,
content creators that are
absolutely,
really
yeah.
good to work with, and they're like, "This is video of you working," and I'm like, "All right, yeah, like
Yeah,
I would be paying somebody $100 a wedding
yeah,
to do
to
this.
do
when in
something like
reality,
this.
they're
Yeah,
doing that for us at the expense of the client
yeah.
because they still want that stuff.
Which
So
is yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, I did definitely see the potential that can be. I think the way you phrase it would be fantastic, or bringing in someone that you are feel comfortable with, or something like that. Um, let me read some of these. So
It's
so
blowing
that
up.
yeah, Daniel Aguilar. Danny. So very soon we'll have Daniel Aguilar here as well. Do you guys know Daniel Aguilar?
the name sounds
Mexicano. He's from Monterrey.
yeah.
Fer
Yeah,
Juaristi, Daniel Aguilar, all
Oh,
these, yeah, the Wet
Yeah.
Rockers from a lot,
Yeah.
Anyway, so he he put on there. He's like, ask DeepSeek, see if a content creator is a photographer.
That's what
DeepSeek,
DeepSeek.
yeah. You guys don't know what DeepSeek is?
Oh, what's the
Oh boy!
right
All
here,
right,
yeah.
so
Oh.
oh man, okay. So recently, within 2 days ago, whatever, Nvidia and the whole market just kind of crashed. They lost like $500 billion.
Okay.
And it was
But
because
then the new video card just came out last
well,
night.
it was because of DeepSeek. So DeepSeek is a Chinese company that is a competitor directly to ChatGPT, which is OpenAI. Except that OpenAI, they made it with $100 million that they invested in it, and China did it in DeepSeek with $6 million.
Oh.
And then they're offering it at like 1/100th the price of OpenAI.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah, so right
okay.
now it's a big.
Yeah.
It's gonna blow up. So anyway, so
Okay, gotcha.
Daniel and I were actually talking about this, yesterday or the day before, right when that whole thing kind of blew up, and that's why he's like, ask DeepSeek because right now
Yeah.
you can get it for free, and
Yeah.
and then they did, it's open source, so it's a whole different.
Competition's always good. It makes
Oh,
everybody-
absolutely, I absolutely, but
Yeah.
here is where things are gonna start really kind of showing up with the overstepping of laws or whatever. We saw it with TikTok, we saw it with everything that's coming in, where these big conglomerate will be like, oh no, they're gonna steal your information, blah blah blah. Let's cut them off.
We
And-
want to
and-
steal your
and
information.
exactly.
We don't want them to steal it. We want the information. Yeah.
Exactly. So, they were saying, so everybody's like, kind of, Christopher he says, no, a content creator is not a photographer. Okay, so he says they're videographers, they're not photographers. And Daniel Aguilar
Right.
says that they agree. Absolutely, the videographer is the one that has the bad chip on their shoulder. The content creator.
They were fighting over
Start
who's
throwing
more
stones.
hurt about
All right,
this.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I do agree. I agree that it is more of a threat. Video.
To videography, I can see that. I can see. 'cause
Yeah, I
even-
agree. I do agree.
Yeah.
yes.
Because even with us, I mean, now when we have the new branch that we kind of because we offer a lot of things for like content creators and the stuff that they're creating, it's pretty awesome, and I do see them more as the video type stuff than a photographer. Um, just because of the nature of what it is. Like social media is coming, whereas IRLs are huge right now,
Yeah.
and that's a whole different thing that we'll be we can talk in a whole different podcast on stuff like that. Cool. Okay. All right. Let's not.
All right, can I bow out?
So yeah, you can you
You don't want to stay?
all right. You have
No,
to do
this is
you have
your
to do it again
podcast.
because I had the camera on me. You have to do it again.
I'll do it. Can I
There you
bow
go.
out?
Wait, they still heard you. Your audio is
Oh,
still
yeah.
in there.
Twice, twice.
I'm only going to invite you in for once where you're going to agree with what I have to say.
All right, so we're gonna get a little bit more on the thickness of it, and I'm gonna save this one for a little bit because this one's heavy. This one's kind of
Oh.
heavy. But now we were talking kind of about AI, so like the future, and by the way, I have my list, of the stuff that we did, where I'm growing up, I'm getting yeah, what can I say? Yeah, I know. Go very different from yours. So we're gonna have to bring you back and do this. The only thing that's not gonna change is we're having good tequila, and
Yeah.
the questions are gonna go blurry after a while, regardless of what it is. But all right, the future of photography in the age of AI and technology.
Okay.
So let's get into that. For example, you kind of touched about on that earlier about, do you really think that AI is going to replace photo?
I don't feel threatened in that way by AI.
No.
No, I think I think that there's like a lot of risks, but I don't think that's one of them. I don't feel
Yeah.
personally threatened that yeah.
And and that's one of
I
the
think it's
things
gonna help us. I honestly do.
I agree. Um, just from things, I had this discussion with a friend of mine. He's a photographer. He's a commercial photographer in California, and he was so kind of nervous with when ChatGPT and all of these, um, like Dali and all of these image
Yeah.
AI kind of came out. And he was like, dude, they're gonna take my job. And I'm like, dude, if you think that something like this is gonna take your job, I would like, if I was still shooting a lot of commercial stuff like that, dude, I would love this. I would like, do you know how much time I would have saved instead of sketching drawing boards or cutting things out of magazine to do visual boards for my clients and stuff like that? I'm like, dude, now you can just go into a computer, tell them kind of what your idea, and you'll get kind of a rendering.
Mm-hmm.
It's not gonna be the image that you want. It's not going to be, any of that stuff, but it gives you a visual thing that you can take onto your client that is completely new.
Yeah.
That you're not ripping off, ideas from a magazine or ideas from this. These are ideas that you can actually input yourself.
Yeah.
And then kind of get that back visually.
The tool we
So,
can use
yeah.
to further our own. Just a funny thing about this, like taking over our jobs. We tested out headshot. What is it? I don't know what it is. Like AI headshot company.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it was there's so many of them, but advertising that like you need a professional headshot, you can just send us some photos of you so we know what you look like, and then we can send you back like the one that we subscribed to. It was like 100 headshots.
Ooh.
So I think it took like, I don't know, 12 hours or something, and then we got our emails of our 100 professional headshots, which were horrible. And now, even if they were amazing, even if we looked at them and said, yeah, this looks just like us, because that was the problem, is
Yeah.
they didn't look like us. There was elements, like they resembled us, but for the most part, it was like, what happened to Mandy? Like, but
Was it soulless? Was it?
yeah, but it's just like, even if they were amazing and they actually looked like us, it is really, really weird seeing photos of you wearing things and in places where you were not. And I don't think people would get past that. Like, right? I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, but just it was, yeah. So I mean, I imagine it over time that would improve, that the ability to create fake photos that were realistic, like our like your
Yeah.
features that would happen.
Yeah.
But do people want?
And like recently I saw an article, I can't remember what, I think it was Wired or something, where it was they had done like this couple saved all their money because they weren't gonna have a wedding, and they were like, well, aren't you gonna miss a picture? Like, oh no. And they created like their own wedding on AI.
Oh, so wedding pictures.
So it was wedding pictures, but they were
Mm.
from, and I was like, oh yes, because you were crossing the bridge of,
Yeah.
you know
That brings back all those
e- e-
memories of you
exa-
sitting at
I-
your computer that
yeah,
night.
exactly. And
Yeah.
exactly, I was like, oh, okay. I was like, so you were across, the bridge of Evandor, and I was
Yeah.
like, okay, like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Again, like this is kind of like, okay, they have something now they can share on social media
yeah. I was
and
like,
use it that way, but it doesn't, it's, what are photos for?
exactly.
Evoke zero
And somebody,
memories.
yeah.
Like,
So
what is this for?
yeah, Steve Walter said wedding and family portraits are probably the safest from AI.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. I would
Yeah.
agree. I mean, I think if anything
Yeah.
else, now
Mhm.
talking about AI, did you guys see the ad campaign that the guy did for Adidas, and it went like viral? It was called Floral, and it was really good. I saw it and I was like, oh my god, this is really good. Now it was just kind of like a test. It had nothing. It was an Adidas thing. They kind of pushed it, and I know Adidas was being very smart. Like, oh, we didn't do this. Somebody else did this. A fan commercial.
Oh, okay.
But it went crazy where people wanted the stuff.
Okay.
They were like, oh my God, we want these shoes. Oh my God, we want this jacket. So now Adidas is actually making these products, which
So
I
the
think
products
is
were not real.
No, none of the products were
Oh.
real. Everything was done.
Okay.
Like I was telling you, that somebody inputted, oh, we
Yeah.
want this jacket
Yep.
to look like this, blah, blah, blah. They made this whole ad, called it Floor. And now Adidas is like, oh my God, there's actually a market for this. Let's make these.
Mm.
I think that's genius.
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
absolutely genius.
Yep.
Now, going back to it, now is somebody actually going to shoot that campaign, or are they going to rely on like, oh, let's just do it?
Let's run with the AI. Like what? Yeah.
Mm. So again, I think photos, family portraits, weddings, I think those
I
are
think
the
Steve's
safest
right
for
about
now.
that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
People want them. People want some of these things for the experience, and
Yeah.
not necessarily the photos alone.
Mm. Yeah.
And that's kind of, I guess, my thought about the wedding as well.
Yeah.
The create their wedding photos. Like, you didn't have the experience. What are the photos even for? Right? I mean, that's my perspective. Is the photos are they're the tangible, the memory
Yeah.
of the experience. If you eliminate the experience, then why do you even have that?
Yeah.
In terms of obviously this specific thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I
product
think-
photography is something else. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, and I think, there's definitely a space for AI. I think
Mhm.
it is going to change a lot of things. I personally still think that there's a long way, for it to go. But I mean, we'll have to see. I mean, it's definitely something that that I'm glad we're kind of talking about. So,
Do you agree?
with
Or do you feel Do you feel at all threatened, like the wedding industry, or a portrait photography as a whole?
No, I don't. I've always said I think like the wedding photography, like Steve said, I think portraits and stuff like that, like lifestyle stuff, things. I think those are gonna be the hardest to kind of replace.
Mhm.
What I do think is, for example, and what I'm afraid of is the fact that people are gonna start making fake like photojournalistic, and publishing these things of things that are not actually happening.
Yeah.
That's the
Mhm.
to me that's the fear that I have, because if you go back just in time with history and everything else, I mean, photojournalism has been such a big part of history, and I do think that AI can threaten that part
Yeah.
because of what it can do, and
Yeah.
how realistic it, if they work on it enough, how realistic it can actually be.
Yeah.
So like now they're doing like deep fakes of so many things.
Yeah. No, that's scary.
Yeah.
That's scary.
So
stuff.
that part,
Yeah.
that's the part that I'm more worried about. I'm not really worried about,
Yeah.
people doing using it for their weddings. If they do, they do, and
Yeah.
I mean, but the my biggest fear is that it's people faking things for one reason or another.
Mhm. Yeah.
To show, because right now half of the things you don't know. I mean, people were questioning the what was it, the Korean crash, the airplane crash,
Yeah.
like, oh no, that's all fake.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I mean, for
Yeah.
people to bring up that
Yeah. The
that's the
fact that
part to me.
that we're questioning it
Yeah,
is already like
yeah.
that's kind of
So those,
right.
I think
Mhm.
that's the part where I'm a little bit more afraid of that than any
Yep.
of the other part.
I
But
agree.
so okay, all right. So what do you guys think? You think AI is it threatens the industry? If it does, please again continue put your comments down. We'll read them. If you have questions, please ask. But let's continue. What do you think of the tequila so far?
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah,
Should you
absolutely.
catch?
Yeah, that's
I don't want to call you out or anything, but
what? No, this is my second one. I poured when you guys were talking when Esteban was over here.
all right. I
Uh,
don't know. We can
nah.
go back in the video after and see if this is
Absolutely,
true.
guys. If you guys saw me pour,
Yeah, please chime in because I don't believe
chime in.
people I think are responding.
But
Yeah, thank you. It's delicious.
absolutely.
It's great. It's a little too smooth, like dangerous maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
nice.
if you guys have tried tried Tears of Llorona, please let me know. I'd never tried it before. I'd been looking for it for at least for a couple of years. I was really excited when I was able to get this. If you haven't, it's fantastic. I'm not a big añejo or extra añejo. This is an extra añejo, um, but I'm loving it.
Good.
I'm loving it. It almost does not taste like tequila. It almost has the I don't know, and I think that's where I'm kind of struggling
Hmm.
a little bit, but I'm liking it. I do.
Yeah, and
It-
maybe that's when I was said like I can taste like other like
yeah,
it's
yeah.
yeah.
It's got a
Yeah.
lot of caramels on it. It's got
Yeah.
a little chocolate. I mean, it's
Mhm.
got like anise. It's got a bunch of different, you know. But anyways, salud.
How did you find it? Local store or
I love tequila.
brought it out?
Oh,
You
wait,
got
this
your
one?
way?
No,
Yeah.
no,
I was
actually-
wondering, like, did it just appear at a store that you
It-
go
it-
to
yes,
regularly,
yeah,
or did
'cause
you
I-
have to like?
So
bring it
no, I
in?
had actually tried to order it before, and I just couldn't get a hold of it. And then all of a sudden, I got a pop up of because I was actually gonna go with a different brand, and then it popped up that it was at the liquor store, 5 minutes from my house,
Oh,
and I was like, what?
nice.
So yeah, so that's why I was so excited
Yeah.
and texting you guys when I got it.
So yeah, like we were napping because of the
The
early morning
the
and
12
long
hours,
flight. Yeah,
the 12
truck.
hour trip.
Yeah, and then I woke up and read the message and I was like, "What the hell is he talking about?" But yes, I love the excitement.
So, all right. So now we talked a little bit
Yeah.
about kind of like AI, and I'm sure that stuff will come in a little bit. So, and this is a question, even when I was a photographer, that I thought about all sustainability in photography. Um, let's talk a little bit. Obviously, I have 3 children, and stuff like that. I know, for example, when I shot film, when I did all that stuff, I mean, that stuff was just toxic, and I have the scars kind of to prove it. I think things have gotten a little bit better now with digital to a point, but also now cameras are becoming more toxic because of the electronics that is. So let's talk a little bit about that. Like, you know, what's your take about like sustainability in the photo industry?
Scary to think about.
Please
A little-
elaborate.
Like my personal career and sustainability.
Yeah,
I mean, I wonder all the time, like when I won't be relevant anymore, or because I feel like it's a younger
mhm.
person's career. I mean, obviously it's physical and hard on your body
Yeah.
and mentally, like it's very
Especially
demanding.
when you like jump off cliffs and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
we won't get into it. I
Yeah.
have to throw
For
that
those
on
who
there.
know,
I have
Yeah.
to throw that on there.
Yeah. So that probably set me back a few years for sure. I'll be out of the career like 10 years earlier because of that, I'm sure.
I had to. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I don't
Um,
care. But yeah, I'm doing everything I think I can to stay relevant, but I'm always worried that I'm gonna be too old.
mhm,
Um yeah, I am. Just for the appeal, I
mhm.
guess. Not that I won't be capable, but just that people are gonna look for. So I'm trying to stay in the trends and pay attention to what the younger generation, like the people who are getting married now, are younger than I am. So trying to just to pay attention to
Yeah.
what they want. Um, but I don't. Yeah, it's a fear for sure
Yeah.
that eventually I just won't be in demand,
Yeah.
and that it will be because of just aging
Aging,
out.
aging out of it.
Yeah,
And I mean, which is it's a very real thing. I
yeah,
mean, I know when I first started my career as a wedding photographer, I that was the first thing on my mind. I was like, I do not want to shoot weddings past 50.
hmm
Um, one, because they are demanding,
they are. Yeah,
and it's it's a physical thing. It's not that I couldn't, but also it just like you said, couples are getting younger. I'm not getting any younger and stuff like that. What am I gonna have to
yeah,
do? But then I see people that I have known for years who are older than I am, and I swear they're like aging backwards.
mm.
Like
Yeah.
there's a yeah,
Yeah,
Jeff,
Jeff's a
yeah,
good example.
but
Yeah,
there's a couple of us from that we've known for a long time, and I'm a huge fan of his stuff, and I see him now, and I'm like, bro, like you look younger than the last time I saw you 2 years ago. And he's going full force, and he has like 30 weddings, and all of his freaking weddings are outside. I mean, they're all international weddings, so he's traveling all the time, and I'm like, I think he's a vampire.
yeah, yeah.
I'm
A
like,
vampire. Oh.
so it's kind of one of those things where I thought about it, and then I see these, and I'm like, oh man, that's so yeah, it's definitely, you know, uh, I think everyone's gonna be is gonna be different for
Yeah.
everyone when it comes to that. So it's
And like taking care of ourselves for like I mean, of course I'm saying the fear for me is not being relevant and not being in demand, but I mean taking care of ourselves so that we can physically do the job mentally and physically is super important. But running our business too in a way that's super sustainable, which can be hard, new shiny gear and there's a lot of like so it's a hard balance. It's expensive. It's an expensive
yeah,
job.
yeah, absolutely,
And
which is something.
keeping up with the newest and
Yeah.
latest is tough. And I did this. I was way late in the game. I did this switch to mirrorless like 2 years ago.
Hmm.
Um, I held off because it was my gear works for me, and I know everyone
Yeah.
else's. And at that time, I think people were it was the like, "Do you have dual card slots?" Like, that was like couples
The
were
debate.
asking. Yeah, couples were asking before
Yeah.
booking, like, and I know and I had
And
and it's just like the
okay,
pressure to
absolutely.
to meet all those demands and like yeah.
And that is something that's always like, I'm sorry. I absolutely, absolutely hate the wedding magazines and wedding blogs and all that.
Yeah,
That's the, the client has no idea what it is. If a
oh,
client
yeah.
came up to me and asked, like, do you have dual cards? And I was like, do you?
Yeah, dude.
I mean, it's like, yeah, it's a lot of things. And I was very honest with my clients when anytime that they ask a lot of these questions, even to the point to where they would come into me, and they were like, "Hey, so I'm getting a little weight, and this, and that. Can you take 30 pounds off of me?" I'm like, "No, but the gym can."
Yeah. I know. Yeah,
I was like, "I'm not gonna lie to
yeah,
you and be like, why am I going to show you something that you're not?"
yeah,
I was
mhm,
like, It's not fair. It's
yeah,
not fair." I was like, "But just because you saw it in some popular blog or post or
yeah,
whatever of a content creator who wants to be relevant,
mhm,
and you're asking these questions,
yeah,
they're feeding you, or they're trying to
yeah,
let you think that this really is important." I was like,
yeah,
you can have 2 camera slot or whatever, and you can still lose
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. I
I
know.
was like,
Yeah.
you know, it's
I've had some scary
yeah,
experiences with a dual card slot camera because I mean it was user error.
yeah,
But yeah, it was 100% on me. I mean, it all worked out in the end, but yeah, like I was like, "Oh, I think I royally up."
yeah. Oh, you
Um
can cuss. It's fine.
okay. I was like, yeah. Yeah, so I think I really fucked up here.
Yeah,
But I had all the tools right there in front of me and there
yeah,
was still something. So, but had that happened prior to having no, it didn't. So like it's, toss up.
yeah.
But yeah.
So now let's switch it up
Yeah.
because you
Sorry, yeah,
know
I sort of trail off here.
no,
Yeah,
yeah,
but
no,
yeah.
but with you know, even with that, you were talking about, you know, about being staying relevant and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So like the role of mentorship in the within a community of, you know, or creative growth.
Mhm.
Like I hear horror stories all the time about photographers who I'm like, you know, I want to get into the industry, and I've emailed. I did it, you know, many years ago, and I was hoping things would change, but apparently not. Where photographers are offering, hey, can I hold your camera? Can I do this? You know, can I shadow you? And you still have photographers who are like, no, you know, I'm
Mhm.
not going to teach you all of my things or whatever. Like, what is it? What are your thoughts? You know, into that, into like, do you have or do you mentor people? Do you have people? You know, how do you handle stuff like
Hmm. Well, just first off, I've been super lucky that I did not really have that experience when I entered the industry. So the first people that I reached out to sort of mentor me at the beginning were wonderful, wonderful
that? That's
people,
awesome.
which is not what I hear from pretty much everyone.
Ooh.
Everyone has the opposite
No, no,
experience.
no.
So I got very lucky that I had good people in my corner right from the beginning. And I've said this time and time again, like the community, the photo community in Winnipeg, um, very supportive as a whole. Like,
That's awesome. Okay.
very like they're actually there to support each other and recommend each other, and I haven't really seen that same thing elsewhere to that extent. But yeah, so I got into it where I didn't have to really fight for that, but I hear time and time again that is not the case. We just did like I did my first mentor session with him. Well, sorry, we were mentoring just this past week, and it was amazing. And unfortunately, like we hear stories of people that don't have these good experiences. So we went in like thinking we gotta give this like the best we can do. Like, and you had a personal experience that wasn't great at the beginning of your career, and I know that you're very motivated to help the community absolutely as much as possible because of that. And I feel like I'm learning a lot of that from you. I feel like I've been asked to mentor people a few times, and I've shied away from it, just not my own insecurities and not thinking that I'm capable of it.
Yeah.
But finally jumping into that a
Oh,
little
so what you're
bit.
saying is like when you reached
Yeah.
out, people were really nice, and then when they reached out to you, like, oh, hey, no, I shied away from it.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I shied away from it. Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, no, not not quite to that
No, no.
extent, but just that like people who are like wanting to hire me for that. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, I'm gonna offer that in the future.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Oh, I'm releasing something in 6 months. I'm thinking about it. I always am thinking about it, but
yeah.
do I ever get to that point of feeling confident enough to start marketing myself as that? I
Mhm.
haven't. But we took on this client this past week, and it was amazing. And I feel like I learned a lot about giving back to the community from him because he's very passionate about that.
That is something that I do. I have to agree with you on that one. I don't give
Yeah.
him, you know,
You give him a lot of credit.
I don't give him a lot of credit.
Yeah.
I don't give him a lot of credit, but you know,
That's
I'll give
one
him
place
that.
where I guess we can like,
You know, yeah. I was like, I'll agree with you on that
yeah.
one.
So I feel like I learned
On that
a lot of that from him. I don't even remember what the beginning of the question is because I'm into the tequila.
Into your first, which
Yeah. Well,
come on,
I know.
come on.
I'm a lightweight now.
Oh, we all are. I was like, um, no, I mean, yeah, I think definitely, you know, mentorships. I had
I'm all for it.
I had a completely different experience when I first started.
Mhm.
You know, and yeah, it definitely, and that was something that I definitely did not want to do. So I had a lot of people that when they did reach out, if I was too busy, I was like, hey, listen, I'm really too busy right now. I promise you. But then I always kind of followed up.
Okay.
To Shorn, actually, to Shorn, who's
Mhm.
one of our ambassadors now,
Yep.
amazing photographer. When he kind of started out, he reached out to me and he thought I had blown him off. And then we were in Vegas and we were actually at one of the Fearless parties. And he came up to me and he was walking and he was like, "Hey," and I was like, "Hey, what's up?" And he kind of looked at me like, and and he was like, you don't even remember me. And I was like, "Sean, right?" And he's like, "Oh my God, you remember?" Like, yeah. But I had dropped the ball because I hadn't followed up with them and stuff like
Mhm.
that. But it was kind of one of those. It is hard. It is hard, especially when you are running a business and stuff like that, to try to
Yeah, yeah.
answer and not be a jerk about it,
Mhm.
and stuff like that. But I do hope that a lot of people in the industry know that there's a lot of people that are hungry that want to know and stuff like that. And I'm sorry if you see someone that you are mentoring or that you give them a few pointers, this, that as your competition, then there's nothing wrong. It's not them, it's you.
Mhm.
That's kind of like, the bottom line, when it comes to that. So,
Yeah.
um, all right, let's see if we have any. Somebody says, "Is this tequila?" Yes, it's tequila. It's just an extra añejo tequila. And I'm not a big extra añejo, but I'm actually enjoying this very, very
Nice.
much. Um,
Thank you.
so what are your what outside of tequila? Because I mean, you guys drink tequila when I'm around, but
I
what do you guys
I drink
usually drink?
tequila as my drink of choice. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, all right. I mean,
It's 8 a.m.
okay,
It was from a
all right.
box.
So all right.
So obviously we're not as like refined in our tequila tasting as you are, but
Oh, Christopher over here being you guys can read that thing. I'm not gonna give
okay.
up. So, all right. So I like to talk about like personal projects,
Okay.
just in general, just because I knew I had a lot of personal, but I still do, and now I'm just getting lazy and not done anything. But what's to you like? Is it important to have personal projects or passion work?
Um, but don't ask me what mine are.
So what?
Yeah. So I mean, I feel when I'm not working,
Uh huh.
the only other time I'm really shooting is for travel purposes. Um, eh, that's pretty much it. And I know there's a lot of people I'm very close with who are very passionate about like pushing themselves creatively and taking on all these personal projects. And I envy that. And I just don't. I currently don't have like the drive to invest in that.
Yeah.
We do have a personal.
What photography?
Yeah,
Digital
it's
lenses?
travel.
Oh, travel.
And
Okay. Well, if
and
we're gonna
like
call that,
having one of these in our hands pretty much everywhere we go and just
yeah,
capturing everyday
true.
life.
No,
It doesn't necessarily have to be
I don't know
like
why it doesn't feel
setting
like
up
it
a.
doesn't feel like the right answer, but you're right.
But
No,
that's
no,
what we
no.
do.
I mean,
We do.
that's
We
yeah.
literally
I walk
we
around the
just
cameras
walk around with a little
constantly.
camera, whether it's a big camera or a small. We're traveling somewhere. We're taking a whole day.
Yeah.
Tuesdays are.
Yeah,
We're
today's
just
our
gonna
photo
take
day. Yeah.
all day.
True.
Just get lost
That's a
in the
personal.
city.
That's a project.
We just
What are you
photograph
talking
whether
about?
it's like
It doesn't feel
people
valid to
and
me.
like film.
Okay.
We'll bring a film camera. We'll bring a digital camera. Whether it's a thing.
Yeah.
Like these little cameras.
Now I
Are
want to show him my
incredible.
tiny little camera.
Should yeah. That camera's
Okay.
kind of cool.
So yeah.
So yes,
Okay.
the answer is
So
yes. We do have.
so I
personal
have
projects.
I have personal passion project.
Okay.
Street photography.
Street
and
photography,
travel
travel
Yeah.
photography,
Yeah.
architecture.
Which is I mean
Yeah.
that is it's a big project. I mean
Yeah.
and I think
But I think it's because it just, I guess because it comes naturally and it's just,
so. It's
it's
more of a passion project to you. Like it's more of a passion than a personal project or whatever.
yeah. I guess
Yeah.
that's why I kind of shy away from saying that
Yeah.
because it just feels like it's yeah,
Okay.
it's just happening and
Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay. No, I
Yeah.
mean, which
So,
is
yeah,
totally
we have
fine.
thousands and thousands of street photography and architecture photos.
So when you
from our
guys die,
travels.
just leave everything behind,
You
and
can
I'll
write a
go and find
documentary
them.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and I'll go and find them, and
Yeah, you can go
that's
through it
it.
all. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like you. I was
Direct
like,
it.
you guys heard it right here. I'm in the wheel.
Yeah.
I'm like 10 years older than both.
Me?
Well, We'll
Oh.
see. Not without the tequila I'm drinking.
But
So,
yeah, so that's my answer then.
okay.
Yes, absolutely, I have a passion
Yeah.
project, and it's travel photography. But
Okay.
it really is.
Yeah.
It definitely is.
No, and here's the thing. A lot of people think that you have to have this big, manufacturer type thing to be a passion project or whatever. No, man. I mean, uh, I envy, the friends of mine who do go out there like yourselves and have a camera or whatever. To me, I do take photos, but whatever I have with me, it's what I use.
Mhm.
I started, like the follow me daddy one that I carry around. I mean,
Yeah,
that's that, but everything's done with my phone or little things like that, I rarely take my camera, like my actual camera with me. Just because in that aspect, when I did, it felt like work because that was my tool. That's what I used for work. That's what I took. So me pulling that out or having that, it was like, it felt like I was like, I don't want to remember these memories through a viewfinder,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah,
So it was kind of like I wanna enjoy these. So
yeah.
with me when I was, when I do these, it's I take one or two shots of what I'm doing and then I put it away and and do it.
And I think it can sometimes feel like that for us too. But we are obsessed with finding the newest little pocket cameras and gadgets and stuff. So we're constantly doing like we're not bringing our work cameras
Yeah, yeah.
necessarily with us. It's other gear that we want to like kind of play with, like our
Absolutely,
toys.
yeah.
So it gives it a different feel. But
Yeah.
I can appreciate what you're saying about
Yeah.
like if you're bringing out your full kit of wedding gear to
Yeah.
take travel photos. Yeah, it's gonna feel like work. But yeah, so we're
Yeah.
trying to get away from that. This is kind of a side story relevant to this. Over Christmas break, when I went back to see my family, I brought his Hasselblad with me for my dad to use while I was there, and we planned a little trip into Banff
Uh-huh.
one day, and I was so worried about making sure I had everything ready for my dad for this Hasselblad he was going to use for the day
You
that
forgot
I
the camera.
completely forgot my gear, and we're like in the Rockies and it's gorgeous. And I'm like taking photos with my phone, like from the backseat. My parents are in the front. And my dad's like, take out your camera, Mandy. What are you doing? And I was like, yeah, you're right. I opened my camera bag.
Go.
I was like, oh, like, oh. But my dad had brought his like camera bag and he had a 5D Mark II in there. And I was like, okay,
Which is still one of my favorite cameras
and I
of
was
all
like,
time.
okay,
Still.
I'm shooting with that today.
Yeah.
That's gonna be I
I refuse
let this go,
I refuse
and that's
to,
what I'm shooting with.
I refuse to let mine go. I
Yeah.
can't. I love that camera. I love
Yeah.
everything about that camera.
Mhm.
The colors that came out of it, everything was. I think it's one of
Yeah.
the best cameras that Canon
Yeah,
has ever
and
made.
it
So
was
that's
great.
a
I
great
loved
one.
what I got, and
Yeah.
yeah,
And it's no, because you start collecting, um,
everything electronic.
yeah, everything.
Yes, yes, yes.
No, but you have a lot. You did like us for a long time, didn't you?
Oh,
Yeah, you still doing like us?
I got rid of a lot of my Leicas, but I'm mostly just the Hasselblad world. So
Oh,
I'm
really?
doing
Okay.
I have an X-Pan, the 500 body for film, and then I have a 907X, which he brought dad.
And that's
Um,
that the top view one?
Yeah, it's a
Right?
digital like little cube with the digital
Yeah, screen on top. Yeah.
medium format, and they're beautiful. I
Oh,
don't know, I feel like
absolutely. Oh,
I think
absolutely.
I'm leaning for this year. I tend to change like, but for this year I'm leaning more going to an M body, an M11,
Yeah, yeah.
M11P, and I don't know. I've yet to figure out what I'm gonna do, but I think I want to go back to having that feel of the smaller like
Yeah, yeah.
instead of carrying around like a
The
500C.
big,
The
yeah.
X-Pan is the X-Pan's a beautiful camera. Like the X-Pan is a film panoramic camera, so it uses two 35mm films next to each other. It's a
So there's
pano
like a
camera,
pan, yeah.
Mhm.
and
It's
it's a
awesome.
gorgeous camera. It's very hard to find, very rare.
Yeah.
Wherever we go, everybody
it.
always stops us and what is that thing?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And if they know what it is, they're like, can I touch it?
Yes, there's people that have literally
They
asked
literally
us to
can I
Yeah.
hold
touch
it? And we're like,
And we were in New York walking around, just randomly walking around, and some guy just randomly comes up to us and is like, "Is that an X-Pan?" Yeah. It's like, "Oh my god, can I touch it?" Yeah. I was like, "Do you want to take a photo of it?" He's like, "Are you kidding me right now?" And He took a photo, and I developed it. And I have to send it
I
to
was gonna
him,
say, did
but
you tell me you're gonna send it?
yeah, I was gonna
That's
send it to him,
awesome.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
gets a lot of
Yeah.
attention though.
yeah, they do.
No,
love it.
yeah, it's a great. So I shot film for a long time. I did. But so I have no desire to shoot film.
Oh,
I
really?
really don't. Yeah, like with the whole thing where when everybody's like, I'm like, oh, are you shooting film? Will you shoot filming? I'm like, hell no, no. I'm good. It's great when you get it and then you send it off and magical fairies develop it and bring it in. It's a big different story when you have in there and you're, especially when
Exactly.
you're a poor student, and you're like shaking a can for, certain amount of time and you have to know exactly how to shake it for how long instead of putting it in a machine that'll do it for you. It's a big difference,
Yeah.
and
I wouldn't be
smelling
able to do it.
fumes and doing all of that, all of
Yeah,
those
yeah.
things. So no, I have no desire. Now, I do have a passion that I do, and I do want to do um like tintype.
Okay.
Tintype is something that I definitely want to learn how to do. And stuff. So maybe in the future I'll do something like that, but
I would launch it, bring in
when you start getting more of
the,
these,
the full, large
yeah.
format stuff. Very cumbersome.
Oh,
Slow, and
absolutely.
I like slow. I like mechanical. I like the
And
of the
I mean,
creative
you can't
photos.
get more than there's a
That
there's a
skill to
guy
it.
on Instagram that I follow. It's I believe he's Korean, and he travels in his van, and all he has is kind of like a his entire van is the camera. So he opens the side door and then the bellows kind of
Oh,
come
I think I
out.
have seen that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
bellows come out, and he has these beautiful, just majestic, portraits of not only people but of these landscapes. And I'm like, oh my god, that'd be just a dream, something like that. Absolutely, because he takes it and then he develops it in his van, and then he puts it, and it's all on glass. Oh,
That
it's
sounds
that
amazing.
that I'm like, okay, that I can do,
I
Yeah.
that
love
I can
depth of
definitely do.
field. Depth of field is try to push the boundaries of depth of field as possible, whether it's wide depth of field or narrow depth of
Yeah.
field. Like when
Oh,
it
absolutely.
really like
Yeah.
even just a smaller medium
Yeah.
format GFX with like a full frame like f 0.95 getting like
Yeah.
funky.
Yeah. Where it just kind of
Yeah,
fades.
yeah,
Oh, it's
it's
beautiful. Absolutely. They're getting all nerdy and stuff. If you guys are fans of, or if any of you guys, just put, hey, I shoot film type thing. I want to see how many of you guys still currently shooting film or want to get into the film. Do you guys do like when you guys shoot? Have you guys shot like hybrid weddings?
Yeah.
You have?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in my package.
Okay.
People can add film. It'll a medium format film and then some 35.
Yeah.
But I have the galleries where it has
Yeah.
an entire film section.
Section of it.
I haven't
Uh,
added it to my packages, and I just actually had a call with a client who was asking about that.
Yeah.
Eh. I'm not. I was like, I will shoot film on your wedding day, but I'm not going to put that in any kind of writing that you are guaranteed any kind of
Yeah.
film on the day.
So
Yeah.
Christopher has an M6.
Yeah, M6 too.
The M6 is my favorite Leica of all time is the M3, like single stroke.
The single stroke. I like the dual stroke.
That is the single stroke, but I had that camera and it got stolen and never had since then. I've always wanted, never been able to come across anything within my price range. I've come across a couple, but I'm like,
My M6 was actually gifted to me by a sponsor. Hint, hint.
oh, you're gonna give the M6 to Gikoto? Yes, you heard it here first.
Yeah.
You know,
So,
but no, the
so
M6 is
when do we
awesome.
get our M6 in?
yeah. When I get my M6, yeah,
No, so the M6 actually is currently out of commission because I left it in front without a cap. So the M6 is notorious for having very fragile shutter
yeah.
curtains. So because they're not metal, they're cloth.
Yeah.
So I had my lens on it, and the sun went into the room,
And
and it
you
basically is a loop.
burned.
So it burned a bunch of holes through the shutter curtain, and the fix is $600 to $700 fix. I'm like, well, I'm enjoying the X Pan right now. Like I might as well just put this on. And it's a very rare one too. It's the the 0.58 magnification, which is the rarest one out of like all
Of
of the ones.
yeah.
I love that camera a lot, and
Uh,
hopefully I can get it fixed soon. So,
Daniel wrote something and then he deleted. Oh, the Nightbot caught it. What'd you? Why are you spamming, Daniel? Don't be spamming. He got caught. Oh, check it out. 1, 2, 3.
The comments are being deleted.
Yeah, he's getting Nightbot. Oh, it's because he's writing all caps.
yelling at us.
Yeah. Quit yelling.
Spanish too. He's typing in Spanish.
Yeah,
Yeah,
some
it's
of them
like
are.
my dad yelling at.
All right, I'm gonna.
Back memories.
Don't take out the
Yeah.
belt.
Put your lens caps on.
All right, that'll. All right, Daniel. That'll get you. Yeah, he's getting he's getting denied. So I just my good old Daniel. Joke. All right, cool. All right, and Vic says he also shoots film and has been shooting since the 80s. More power to you, man. More power to you. Absolutely. Cool. Okay. Let's remember we had skipped one,
Yeah,
earlier
this-
and stuff like that.
this-
So
the deep question.
yeah, I mean, and
Interesting.
we'll get some,
Is it
some of
personal
the
or
other
is it-
ones. No,
is it
I don't think.
photography?
No, I think it's just
Alright.
photography, especially with everything that's kind of going on now. Actually, Estella and I met this way. What 6 years ago, 7 years ago, with because of some posts that I had done, and that's how we actually met. But with everything that's kind of going on in the world, or whatever, like a big thing that's happening, especially, and one thing that I've seen, and I think the reason I'm bringing in this question is because I've seen a lot more of it within the last 2 years. I think a lot had to do with COVID, with what we all went through. And that's kind of like mental health, and mental health, like mental health and creativity, like, do you think that there's, and I was having this discussion the other day with which is someone who I'm actually gonna invite here, and he's one of the best sound engineers in Hollywood right now, and we geeked out over my office because he loves Star Wars as well, and we were talking about this when it came to like mental health and stuff like that. The link between mental health and creativity, it's always been kind of one of those things that has always been linked. Everything from from Dali to what's it? Van Gogh, little things
Yes.
like this,
Mhm.
that are always kind of attached. What are your thoughts on like mental health and creativity? Like, do you think there's a link between that? Do you think that there's something to that?
I do. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what the link is specifically, but I know, and it's great that we're having this conversation, and that's where we are now, like in this world that people are talking about this stuff.
Oh, absolutely,
Like
absolutely.
that we're here, like, hey, let's talk about mental health in our industry. Like, I think, yeah, and I don't know what the link is, but it definitely seems like creativity and ADHD have a link.
Okay, yeah.
Like
I can see that.
specifically, yeah. And I think that the career, like the career itself, like in wedding industry specifically, it's very unique to other careers. It's very isolating. Um, there's a lot of specific things about it that I think maybe draw certain type of people to it, and uh, yeah, and I don't know if it's not a negative, but I think that there is something going on with the type of people who are drawn to this career. And
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing too.
No, well, absolutely. I mean,
But-
I think you have to be a little crazy,
Yeah.
when it comes to it, and
Yeah.
not in a bad way.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm
but
saying.
a little OCD.
Yeah,
Yeah, like there's-
because,
y-
and I think the majority of individuals who, I think just the general population now has
Yeah.
some sort of mental health.
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
It's one of those things that unfortunately that's where we're at now.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, it's something that that I think is I don't think is discussed enough. I don't
Hmm.
think we obviously people kind of shy away from it because they see it as a negative connotation. Like, oh, they think I'm a nutcase or there's this and
Hmm.
that, because of X.
Yeah.
When in fact, I think we need to understand that maybe it's time to kind of embrace some of those things,
Oh,
and be able
yeah.
to bring in some of
Yeah.
the individuals that for one reason or another have a different view or have, all of these things. Um,
Yeah. Different ways of thinking, that may be like a mental health disorder, not necessarily like completely negative. Like there's positives that come to these things. There's gifts in certain areas
yeah.
that then you're bringing stuff, and that's why you're a creative, and you're bringing stuff that maybe someone who doesn't have that would struggle. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
like it's
What are your
yeah.
thoughts, Esteban?
Oh
I mean, as somebody that has struggled with mental health in the past, I think that there's definitely a link, not only creativity, but just like the pressure of being a business owner. Uh, Little things that we go through that tend to play up. They feel bigger than than what most people look at them as, especially when you're. I mean, I have really, 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 really bad ADHD. And I do take medication for it, and I still to this day feel like I still can't really what still working towards like getting to where I want to be. I do think that I also grew up in an environment where I'm sure you can probably relate to this, where um, there was more of a cultural stigma behind mental health issues.
Hmm.
Oh, I mean, I have ADHD and I have Tourette's. Tourette's is something that like most of our families don't like even know anything about.
Yeah, yeah,
And I was just diagnosed 2 years ago, and I'm like, oh, I've had this my entire life, and I didn't really know anything about it, and it's affected my personal life throughout my entire life, and I didn't know why until I actually reached out and said, not until I reached out, until someone reached out for me and said, well, you have to do something. And actually needing that like outside force of saying like, hey, you should really do something about this. There's always that stigma of like, oh well, now I've this is just the way that my brain's supposed to work. This
yeah,
is the way that life should be. Um, and sometimes it's not, because the minute that things started actually coming together, and you're like, oh my god, this is the way that things should look like. These are the way that my brain should work. Like that's when like yeah, like this is what it should have been for the last 30 something years, but it
yeah,
wasn't, because of that cultural stigma. Because of, I mean, I don't know how like your parents are, but like my parents would have never in a million years thought,
hmm,
well, we have to bring him to the doctor because he got tics, or we
yeah,
have to bring him to a doctor because he's showing signs of ADHD. He can't concentrate, and unfortunately, that happens still a lot
a lot. Yeah,
in families. I mean, I have a son who's autistic, and he's my world. And if I if I was 10 years old and I was going through like what he was going through, there's no way that he would have got help,
yeah,
because it's just like that stigma that household,
yeah,
say. And not just Latinos, but a lot of other people are just, oh well, they'll get through it, they'll talk. But it's nice to see that now men can cry on
yeah, yeah,
podcasts. It's nice to see that you can talk about your feelings with people without feeling like you're gonna be judged,
yeah. With
especially as like a man. I mean, I feel like
yeah, yeah,
again we were raised to think that like,
yeah,
"Mm, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that?" And I also find myself. We had this conversation today. I find myself mimicking the actions that like parents did, where it was like, "Why are you doing that? Why are you crying?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
suck it up." It's like, no. like if you want to show your emotions, like you should encourage
It's yeah, to be
emotions.
able to show
Um,
emotions.
and it's a good change for creators, but for everybody.
Yeah,
I'm ready.
Yeah,
I'll
that's
stop.
yeah,
but even with all of that, like I think there's a lot of good that comes from having that in the industry.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of positives to ADHD in a
yeah,
Oh
creative
yeah.
field.
Yeah. My
Like
doctor's like, don't take your medicine when you're going to weddings.
I think it literally helps
'Cause
you.
I wouldn't. I mean, I want my
yeah.
brain to go 100 miles an hour because I
Absolutely, yeah,
want to think of different
Yeah,
things. But sometimes you need to wind down.
yeah.
Sometimes
yeah,
you need to have that.
Like a focus.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like I
yeah.
need to focus on
yeah.
things.
No, and I completely understand. Just for the fact, so I have ADHD, and I think a lot of people that are in the industry have
I think
ADHD.
there's more people
I
who have
never,
it than don't, as
yeah,
like as far as I
yeah.
know. Like I'm like, yeah.
I never. So before I was, so I come from. I'm not gonna say I come from the art world because I'm the only person actually that does anything art related. Um, from my family, so I started painting and doing all these things before I went into photography. Um, and in college, that's when they kind of didn't diagnose. Like, oh, you have ADHD, man. Here, take this. And I remember taking the first one, and I was like, bro, like, no. I'm like, I didn't like the way I felt. I couldn't, so I opted not to. Um, and just kind of threw myself, whatever. But that also gave me a whole other chain of problems, from hyperfixation to overthinking to all these little things to where, if something happens, which was great at weddings because basically what was is, I was like three steps, in front of anything. If this happens, then I'll do this. If this happens,
Yeah.
then I'll do that. And if this happens,
Yep.
then I'll do that. So it was always, stuff like that. But then when you bring it up into your kind of your life itself, you can't turn that off.
Yeah.
And it's always, you're always thinking, whether it's, good outcome, bad outcome, this and that. And I think that's where things kind of spiral, in those situations. But do I
Like being
think
an undiagnosed ADHD person, I can relate to everything you were saying.
yeah, and it's one of
Yeah.
those things where it's kind of like where I'm like, holy moly, but it's also I am like you had brought up, the fact that now it's easier for men to kind of talk about. Um, it's I like that. I like the fact that we're able to share a little bit more. Um, one thing, for example, like June is, Men's Mental Health Month, and nobody really kind of talks about it because there's so many other things that are that are happening in June or whatnot. And I think it's one of those things that kind of just brings it up. And to be honest with you, I mean, my wife has helped me quite a bit with stuff like that. And I think um, a females are the ones that have kind of pushed, towards this happening. So thank you guys. That's,
Like full circle.
fools. Yeah. Yeah. Well, what do you know?
Let's talk about how terrible they
Yeah.
are. So
The-
you just start
Yeah.
another circle.
I was
They're-
like, yeah.
kidding.
They're taking our careers and they're making us get mental help.
First world problems.
So, all right. So let's get a little bit more. We had a lot of people. Let's see if you guys have. Oh, Jeff just signed in. Said the mic is cutting out on the step. No, that's just because he this.
I was getting emotional, Jeff.
He was getting emotional on that. So,
That's Jeff that said that.
Is that Jeff?
Is that
Jeff
Jeff
Tisman?
Tisman? Yeah, I think
Is
so.
it? Oh, yeah.
dude, so Nightbot literally just messaged Daniel and said, "At Daniel Aguilar, you're the missing link. Goodbye. Stop spamming caps. Warning." I love this thing, dude. Do you guys use this for you guys' podcast a lot?
No.
No, it helps a lot, but it gets its feelings hurt pretty quickly.
It's a nice interface.
Pretty
Yeah, I
clean,
like
pretty
the
quickly.
interface. We need to
Uh,
look
We
at
on
need
that.
to look into this.
We don't do YouTube lives. We do the lives in the group, and then we bring them into a software called the script.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, so
I get that.
like
Yeah.
repurpose for real.
So I do because I want to talk about you guys' podcast because I've really enjoyed that as well. Daniel Aguilar said, "Yeah, seguro todos tenemos esa madre," which means we all have ADHD.
Yeah.
Guys, if you guys have any questions or anything, please, put them in the comments. I'll read them right over here. Do not put caps because obviously you guys get flagged as spamming for some reason.
Is Jeff getting
Um,
flagged as an old fart?
Not yet, but I'm sure it'll I think
Yeah.
the photo that he puts on his profile makes him look younger.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Probably.
I'm
Faking
kidding,
it.
Jeff. I'm kidding.
Love Jeff.
Yeah, we do. And that boy is one of the healthiest old men I've ever seen.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
He
Yeah.
tries
He
to
looks
make other
great
people
for-
healthy.
Oh, I
Being
know.
in
I
his-
know. I was drinking. I think I was drinking a water, and then I followed it with a Coke. He's not like I wouldn't drink that, and I'm like, "Whoa, chill! I just drink a water."
I've honestly
On
never
that.
seen an 82-year-old be that healthy.
Yeah, I
That's
know. Yeah,
incredible.
I thought he was 85.
He says he's 82, but he's actually
85, right? Yeah, that's
but
what I
he
thought.
doesn't
That's
look
what
a
I
day
thought.
over 70.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say that 79. I mean, I wouldn't give him that
Yeah.
much credit.
Yeah.
79.
Yeah.
I'll give him 79. On that. So,
I'm
I'm
he's
probably
he's-
texting me right
so
now.
sorry, Jeff.
Vic Roman says the Nightbot needs tequila.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, he does. So Daniel's throwing the gauntlet. He says, que nos cuenten cuál fue la última serie, película o podcast que les haya inspirado más.
Oh.
The winner was the- Wow. Please tell me you actually
Wait,
understood
did you
that.
understand?
I don't know if I did it or not. I'm
Wait,
gonna
no.
be
Okay,
embarrassed
no,
to say what I
okay.
think.
Say it.
Okay, so now I'm putting you on it. Okay, what did you think he said?
Did she ask us if the podcast
It's a
could be
he.
It's a
or
he.
he?
His
Yeah,
name's
it's-
Danielle.
Oh, sorry.
Not Danielle, like as a.
Not
a
Daniela.
Danielle,
Okay.
was not-
Daniel.
Well, I
Yeah,
can't read the
like Dan.
comment. Okay, I don't know who said it.
Oh, Jeff Timmons said he's 87. He corrected us. So he does look good.
he d-
All right,
um,
so
both the podcasts
Is it-
being in Spanish.
que nos cuenten cuál fue la última serie o película o podcast que les haya inspirado machín, o sea, más.
Can our podcast be in Spanish?
No.
But that
Okay.
good try. Good try.
Good.
I tried
yeah.
so hard.
He said,
You'll get
I
there
tried
one
so
day.
hard.
Yeah.
no, she said, tell us,
understood.
ask them which is the last series, movie, or podcast that has inspired you the most.
All right, so I think we'll probably have a similar answer because we watched a movie that was fucking incredible, and the cinematography, the color grading, everything about it was just
Nosferatu.
Yes.
Yes!
Oh my god.
Wait, did you guys talk about this
No.
beforehand?
Did we
No,
talk about this?
no.
How did you know that?
Because it's beautiful.
He doesn't even watch horror movies.
I don't, and it was incredible. Like I can't stop thinking about
Yeah.
it. We watched it like last week, right?
Yeah.
It was so good.
I was actually surprised how much he loved it.
Yeah,
And
it's a beautiful movie. It's an absolutely
That's why I said
beautiful,
vampire.
beautiful movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
She said
Full
vampire.
circle.
Well,
It was like-
I heard it earlier. And I was like, okay,
vampire.
no, but yeah,
It's
no,
just, like,
absolutely.
so beautiful.
Yeah,
It's like one of my all time like I haven't watched through the whole thing, but the few phases of Dune that I've watched as far as like cinematography, and then my
Well, that's definitely
favorite
good,
as
man.
far as like shooting and color grading, The Last Black Man in San Francisco. Was one of my
Oh,
all-time
yeah, that was
favorites as
that was
far
a
as
good
that.
one.
The opening scene in that movie is very much how I like to shoot, especially street photography. It's like very
Like straight on.
symmetrical, very straight on, no
Mhm.
like crazy angles. It's just very like this, and then everything's happening in and out of the scene. But Nosferatu was just incredible.
No, I mean it's an amazing. I mean it's an amazing everything. There are a lot of things like everybody. If you have not seen it, just earmuffs, but whatever.
Yeah.
But everybody's talking about the one thing, like the mustache.
Yeah.
And I'm like, really? I'm like, okay, like that's the last thing that you honestly like look
Mhm.
at everything else. Yes, you do understand that this is stupid. I like the fact that he took, a chance on it.
Yeah.
And it does look
I didn't
different
even
from
think
the
about
other
it, to be
one
honest, yeah.
and all of these things. Yes, he looks like Jim Carrey and Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh, you're right. Now that you're saying it, yeah, I'm glad you didn't say that before I watched the movie because that's all I would have thought about.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you
But
seen Sonic's-
Yeah,
He
I didn't.
does. He
Yeah,
has that.
But I
yeah.
didn't think about that while
So
watching it.
yeah, but,
So
but yes, he took a risk or whatever. I do think that was a miss. I think it could have been different. I'm glad it looked different from the other ones, but because there were so many throwbacks to the original, to both of the past,
Yeah, I've never
of the past
seen
ones.
any of them. This was honestly just like you recommended it because I don't watch scary movies. I've been
Daniel
watching
said
them.
Danielle.
I don't watch scary movies, but
Uh,
she has been getting me into watching more like
oh,
horror
and
stuff. And
as you guys
yeah,
know, I am an absolute horror fanatic. Like
yeah.
now that you watch that, now watch The Witch, which is the same
So we
director.
have The
we
Witch.
we
We
bought the
watched The
witch. We watched the
Lighthouse.
lighthouse, and the witch.
See, and
is-
the lighthouse was okay. The lighthouse was okay. Yes, it was okay. Like Willem Dafoe did fantastic, just like he did in Nosferatu.
Yeah.
Like it was great. It was beautiful. When it comes to cinema, I mean, this director has it. Oh my god! And I had it. What is his name? Danny, help me out. What was the director's name for? Oh my lord!
we just looked it up.
We
too,
looked it up
we were-
because we didn't even know it was the
We
same
didn't,
director.
yeah,
And we were
we-
in the car, and I was like,
No, he was right at like the opening credits of the movie. You said
Oh, yeah.
you said this is the same director as The Lighthouse, and
Yeah.
I was like, how do you
Yeah.
know that? And it absolutely is.
yeah.
Sí, de Nosferatu and The Witch.
In the Lighthouse.
Yeah, I think I
But
saw
it
The
was a
Witch.
beautiful
Eggers.
Uh,
Eggers.
I don't.
That,
yeah,
that's the director,
yeah,
Eggers.
yes.
So Eggers, yeah, Robert Eggers. Eggers. So Robert Eggers, like he is a phenomenal. Every single one of his movies are absolutely beautiful, and to me, The Witch was the most beautiful horror film I'd ever seen.
Oh, really?
Like it is absolutely beautiful, and then obviously this one is just. But then with the budget that he had with The Witch compared to this one, I mean, it's worlds apart.
Oh, okay.
When it comes to The Witch was extremely just a basic type thing, and now he's actually taking on the werewolf. He's gonna direct.
Yeah.
He's gonna make a werewolf film now.
That's
Hey.
awesome.
Which I'm really excited because, I was over zombies. I was over the whole thing. Vampires have always been cool, but nothing's ever been as good as The Lost Boys. I'm sorry, that is the
No,
best
that's
vampire
So I
movie
know,
of
I was
all
like,
time.
We have to watch The Lost Boys.
You've never seen the
No, we were at a store. We were
There's a
actually I've been in a phase of buying retro like video games, and we were in a store shopping for video games, and there was a Lost Boys poster, and she was like, "Have you ever watched it?" No.
Oh my
It's
god,
amazing,
dude!
yeah.
That is
That is the vampire
that is
movie.
the best vampire movie of all time. It is
Yeah.
phenomenal. So yeah, so Eggers just absolutely has beautiful movies. I'm a huge fan. And New, obviously, with Dune and and Blade Runner. I mean, everything
Yeah,
he has
those are
done
beautiful.
have been absolutely fantastic with that. Okay, so Nosferatu. Okay, so there it goes,
Mhm.
Nosferatu.
Mhm.
That's something. Any other questions, you guys? Let us know. Cool. Well, I think we are kind of winding down. You guys, that's still your first one? It's
No, is
my third weekly.
that your second one? So I'm keeping up.
You're in between. You're good. You're fine. That's fine. So
Pressure of chugging, and I don't like chugging.
no, don't chug. Especially not this one. This one's too good. All right. So this one, I'm actually this question. What I actually asked AI.
Oh,
Yeah, and I went
That's kinda fun.
and I went the the DeepSeek way. I asked DeepSeek
Yes,
instead of
DeepSeek.
ChatGPT. To give me a couple of questions about and it was the impact of influencer culture on professional photography, which we kind of talked about that, and
Yeah.
the use of artificial intelligence over both.
You have a thought formed?
The use of
on this?
artificial
'Cause
intelligence on both.
Like using artificial intelligence over photography or using artificial intelligence for content creation. Like it just says blurring the lines between amateur and professional work.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely do think that there's something to be said about the combination of people needing the fixation of social media and the other half of people that have the fixation of the attention that they get from other people. And sometimes AI and a lot of artificial things, whether it's AI or just things that they like to portray on social media, feed their egos enough where they get enough of a following and they're making money off of this. I mean, you could look at it in a really sad way where it's like doom scrolling, which I'm very guilty of. Um, I'm kind of supporting people potentially putting themselves in a position where they're not going to be themselves
Mhm.
in order to get paid or make a living out of
Mhm.
being like a social media influencer or anything
Yeah.
like that. I also understand that I like to, especially with like the community that I've built, I like to be as transparent as possible, and I can never see myself ever like feeling like I need to become somebody else in order to satisfy others people's attention because
Yeah.
that's the only way that I'm going to get paid. I've never been put in that position, but it's definitely a scary thought that artificial intelligence is able to like tell us like this is what your audience likes, so you should do this, and then if I don't have the means for it, then I'm going to use a fake medium to
Yeah.
create what people want to be fed. So it's a weird thought
Mhm.
and very interesting question. I don't really. That's tough. I don't know.
I have a follow-up. How do you feel
Yeah.
about the like TikTok being
To be honest with you, I don't give a shit. Like I think TikTok was towards the end of running its course of the capability of what it could be. Um, uh, I mean, going back to like doom scrolling and stuff like that. I mean, that was the beginning of what doom scrolling was because it fed you. Is it basically, especially having ADHD or whatever. It's I felt like when going back into the 90s when you went from having just a little antenna on top of your TV to having cable TV and you were like
Yeah,
click, 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 click.
yeah,
That's exactly what it felt like. And it got to the point where it was just like when ads started coming in and every, third or second video was an ad, from an quote unquote influencer that was trying to sell you something. I was like, okay, this has run its course. This is gonna go away. And I honestly think that ByteDance knew that. And they were kind of like, okay, yeah, now let's sell it to and they're gonna sell. They're going to. And now when they do sell, it's completely gonna change.
I like the
Because
disruption.
yeah, because one, the algorithm is not coming with the cell. That's proprietary of the Chinese government. It's not gonna go anywhere. So the algorithm is gonna stay in China. So that means that they're gonna either have to build their own or they're gonna have to copy something else. And none of the other algorithms that are around here are worth anything, to be honest with you. So do I think it's going to hurt a lot of people? The part that I see the most is that there are a lot of companies that have literally used that as a foundation and that they are going to get hurt and that stinks. But it's also, I think, a teaching tool to like, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
well, yeah. It's I mean, so one of the terms that I learned a long time when I was talking to somebody about growing an online community, especially with the Facebook community. So my community has thousands of people in it, but like, what if Facebook goes away tomorrow?
Hmm.
Like, what happens to my income? What happens to workshops? What happens to my speaking engagements? And one of the good terms that I've heard in the past that somebody told me was called digital sharecropping. So it's like you're renting a space,
Yeah.
and depending that platform is going to grow exponentially throughout an X number of years, and you're going to grow with it. And that's what's happened in the past. I don't know, 7 8 years that I've had the community. But what happens if tomorrow? Um, a government says, "Well, no, we're mad at Facebook because this other company is giving us more money or is playing more into the politics of it."
Oh, okay. Okay.
And when that happens, that's where I don't agree with it. So because there's I mean, obviously I don't want to get too political here, but like obviously the word oligarchy is very, very common right now. So you have people that have so much power into politics that they're able to dictate who gets to spy on who.
Yeah.
So because there's a company that obviously is essentially coming from a different government and a different political aspect from a different country. Um, Everyone wants a share of that, and they're using their political stance in order to dictate whether they could be seen in another country. And I'm not a fan of this censoring a whole app about it. I certainly don't care for the app. I tried it and I use it, and I know what it can do. I know that you can grow very quickly on it. But I don't think that it just seems like it's a very much like a, yeah, we're gonna ban it because we want to force a sell to another company that's just going to do exactly what
What you
you're
are,
trying to get people to understand that
yeah,
this other company is doing. So it's just a pretty shitty
yeah,
situation. I don't like. I like the competition. I like to have different things. I mean, I always talk about it in my community. It's like, there's only one company doing one thing. Never gonna They're never
absolutely,
gonna
yeah,
grow. They're never because it's complacency.
yeah,
It
yeah,
happens to everybody. And when you have a competitor come in that use the word disrupt, disrupt is a great word because when somebody's disrupting an industry, that's when growth happens.
Mhm.
When people are like, "Oh shit, like this company's doing this, so we have to do something better." Going back to AI, like you have Aftershoot and Imagine AI are the two big companies. I love that there's two of them. They're two really good companies at what they do. So if one comes out with something, the other one's like, "All right, well,
yeah.
let's come out
And
with
then you
something
have a
else."
dark horse that comes in with Devoto and just kind of like,
Yeah. Yep. And
Yeah.
then they jump in,
we
and then
got
we
more
have three
money.
people. Yep.
Mhm.
So, and what is that good for? It might not be good for all of them, but it's good for us as the consumers
Absolutely,
Uh-huh.
because we always benefit from
yeah,
the competition that's happening behind the scenes.
Yep.
So, yeah,
Definitely.
I think it sucks that banning. I'm sure it'll be back and it'll be different, but
yeah. I mean, right now, like it's back,
Yeah.
and but it's
you can't
everybody,
download it though, right?
yeah, you can't. I
Yeah.
think that's gonna
Yeah, I'm
change
sure
really
that'll
soon.
change it.
But so one of the things that I do and I will give credit to is the sense of community that it created, to where so many people like mobilize so quickly, to where everyone was like block Instagram, block Facebook, do this, like all of a sudden, and you saw it where things started kind of plunging for Meta, in that part. And then all of a sudden, everybody was like, "Oh, hey, by the way, Red Note's available." And then hundreds of thousands of accounts just popped up, on Red Note. Where so that part, I was like, "Okay, this is really cool."
Yeah.
But then this is also a big red flag to the people, the oligarchs, to all these things. Where like, okay, this is what we need to shut down, because unfortunately, the worst thing that can happen, and this is we're not going to get political, but this is stuff that is happening, stuff that is going to happen, that's stuff that is going to affect our industry, because currently we're talking about tariffs, we're talking about all that stuff, and that things, everything's going to go up. As small business owners, when you're a photographer, these things are going to hurt you. They're going to affect your business. They're going to affect your clientele. They're going to affect everything that's kind of around us. So it's good to be knowledgeable about everything that's kind of happening. So with that said, competition is good, but what is not good is when the same person owns all of the
Yep.
competition, and that is unfortunately where we're at right now, where the competition is not really competition. They're just kind of hiding behind the same mask,
Mm.
you know. That's one of the reasons why, for example, Kellogg's here is different than Kellogg's in Europe, where you see Fruit Loops here that has all these ingredients, and then you go over to Europe and they're all outlawed.
We had this conversation
So
recently
Yeah, red dye,
about
right?
red dye.
Yeah.
He didn't know like
Yeah.
he didn't know
Yeah, I had
the
no
risks
idea.
oh,
behind
about yeah, the
red
dyes
dye,
and
and I
stuff.
was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I was like, wait a minute. I think Yeah, I don't know what it was we were reading, but I was like, oh yeah, like our whatever product it was is
Yeah, no, yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. And
Yeah, yeah.
what's crazy, and there's actually this big thing, and I can't remember. There's actually a very short documentary that was done in Mexico about a town that basically was, for the lack of a better term, sponsored by Coca Cola. Like people weren't even drinking water; all they drank was Coke all the time or whatever, and the obesity and death rates were like through the roof. You know, and it kind of showed because it was very early on when the Coca-Cola came in and they established all of these things, and I was like, eh, again, it's part of an industry that doesn't care, and when the government doesn't care because it's manipulated by money, by oligarchs, by whatever, that's when things kind of go up. So all right, let's change the subject because this is getting a little intense, guys. Again, if you guys have any questions or anything, please put them on thing. We're ready to start closing this off or whatever. Do you guys have any? You guys have been working together. You guys have a podcast now.
Yeah, we do.
Let's talk a little bit about that. I'm really, where can they find it and all that stuff. But more than likely, what brought the idea of creating a podcast like this?
Two very opinionated people who were like,
Very accurate.
maybe we should start telling the world our thoughts.
Yeah.
And we'd have a lot of we've like very in-depth conversations about stuff in the industry, stuff with travel, stuff we were doing. Then we'd have conversations with our close friends about these things, and we were like over and over again, like, let's turn this into something. Let's
So
turn
when
this
are we
into
going to
something.
switch seats then?
Yeah. Yeah. Should. We never had a guest on. I mean, we're
Yeah.
very much in the infancy of the podcast. Where,
yeah, definitely.
It's within the last like 3 months
Yeah.
or something.
Mm.
4 months maybe.
Yeah. And you guys are
Yeah,
actually going to do
August.
one from our booth at,
Yeah.
at Imaging,
Yeah, that's
which
really
I'm
cool.
really, really excited. If you guys are local or if you guys are coming in, please stop by the booth. We're going to be booth 311 at Imaging. We got some great stuff kind of planned out. We're actually going to be doing, we have the Outspoken Artist that's going to be doing their lives and podcasts from there. You guys are going to be doing it from the booth. So we're gonna have a lot of cool stuff going on at that time. Sorry, I had to plug that in.
Yeah, no, of course.
No, and the podcast is called Switching Lenses Podcast, and it really just came from a sort of a love of our travel. We like to just randomly travel to places, whether it's like most of our travel comes like us just sitting in a room and going like, we should go to this place in a couple days.
Yeah.
And we will book a flight and we'll go out and fly. We did that a couple of times last year. And just talking about again, switching the gears of like, hey, we're working wedding photographers. We also travel a lot for weddings, but at the same time, we also love travel in itself and what that's like. So
Yeah.
most of the episodes are basically on whether it's a topic at hand when it comes to the photography industry, and then we kind of switch the lenses to like, hey, we travel to this place and we very gear oriented, so we like to talk about gear, like what we brought on our travels, what we shot, and it's been a really fun time.
Yeah.
It's cool, yeah. We recorded our last episode in the middle of a little hut in Miami.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of bougie, but it was
Yeah.
it was really cool. Where
That's awesome.
we did a whole episode where we just kind of sat there and just talked about. We went for Art Basel,
Yeah,
which is
'cause,
one of our
we
favorite
love going
things.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
if you guys have never been to Art Basel, it's pretty awesome. I've never intentionally gone just to go see it, but I caught like the tail end of it one time when I was shooting a wedding, and I was like, "What is all this? This is fantastic! It's
amazing,
pretty
yeah.
awesome."
It's
So
awesome.
So
if you
hopefully-
like art
Yes,
and really eccentric people and people watching, just go to Miami during Art Basel week. Some of the art installations that we saw were unbelievable.
Yeah, every
saw
year
one-
we see stuff.
Our favorite one this year was the elephant exhibit, which is I guess you know more about it tonight.
Oh, it was called
Elephant migration.
I was like, yeah, I'll say more about it. What was it called? It was 100 life-size elephants. They were, I guess, formed from. What was the?
It was an
It was
invasive
a weed.
weed from India.
Yeah, so it looked like they were sculpted from wood, but when you got up close, you could tell they were formed out of this dried weed. But they were all modeled off of real elephants in the wild that the artists were observing.
Mhm.
And then they were transported from India to the beach in Miami.
Yeah.
And so 100
And they
lives.
sold them.
They're
Yeah.
selling them off to support.
They all sold
Yeah.
for an average of $20,000 each,
That's cool.
and all the money went back to
Conservation. Yeah, conservation
charity,
of them. But
See,
it was
yeah, it's
it was
awesome.
incredible,
It was
and the amount of
Yeah.
people it drew, like,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was awesome.
Yeah, I mean
That was
it's a huge. I mean, it's a huge draw to people. I mean, it's something, originally when people talked about it, it was like, oh, but it was the same thing for like South by Southwest in Austin,
Mhm.
which was a
Yeah.
little thing, and all of a sudden, now they've got films, you got electronics, you got all
Oh, yeah.
sorts
We
of
won
stuff.
this year, though.
So,
Yeah, I'm down.
all right, cool, because we're gonna go down there. So done,
Oh, yeah.
All right,
done.
we're
Gonna
there.
be yeah.
You heard it here
We're gonna
first.
be at
Yeah.
You heard it here first. South
Yeah.
by Southwest. We're all gonna be there. We'll do lives and all sorts of stuff down there. So here is the idea that came. That's. I actually remember when you guys texted me and they were like, "Hey, we're thinking about this.
Oh, yeah.
These are names that were," and I was like,
Oh yeah,
Yes.
writing
I
down.
like-
Yeah, we asked you about names.
Can
yeah.
you tell
Yeah.
us what you think about these names?
Yeah, and I remember, and I was like, and when you guys ended up with, I was like, that's perfect. I was like, that's actually absolutely
Yeah.
perfect. That's awesome. Do you guys think that this is ever going to evolve into more than just kind of a podcast where you guys would be doing like the video and putting this on YouTube or putting this on social
Yeah,
media
that's-
where
Yeah,
you
we have
actually
big
kind of
dreams. We have
Okay.
big dreams.
That's the
Yeah.
goal. So we're even
Yeah.
like this week we have a whole plan of things that we're gonna do. Where we
content
do a lot
and-
of lives in my community, but
Mhm.
I think we want to take that outside of the community
Yeah.
too. Where I think YouTube is one of the things that we want to focus on, and then just doing more like visual of our travels and like what we're
Yeah,
what we're
more
up
in
to,
the
so,
video realm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's where
Mhm.
things are heading.
yeah,
So,
which is cool because we have stuff for that.
yeah.
Just saying.
Mhm.
Just saying. So, in case you guys don't know, go to our website, which is Geekoto Gamers, where it's the new branch of Geekoto where we're doing a lot of stuff for content creators, podcasters, and stuff like that. So, well, Mandy, I'm now, Esteban, please dab your way out.
Adios.
Yeah.
After my beautiful translation earlier.
That's right. After that translation, but Mandy, first of all, I want to say absolutely thank you for being here. You've
Thank
been
you.
absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. Your point of view. It's always fantastic, and I absolutely love when we have women in here. I'm so glad that the industry is actually, in my opinion, going in the right direction where we're including a lot of more women, where it's becoming more diverse, where stuff like that. And I personally do think that the industry is changing because of that. And it's changing for the better. So, because of women like yourself and so many that are out there, I want to say thank you for us as a company. We want to support from women, minorities, and everything else. We are currently in a time that we have to stick together. I know that there's a lot of differences. I know that there's a lot of things that are going on, but don't let all of these things kind of cloud you guys. This is something that is what and I hate to sound this way, but this is what they want. This is the when you keep people apart, when you keep art down, when you keep that's how you hide the truth. That's how you erase history, and this is things that we cannot let happen. So with that said, I'm going to go back to, talking about women being in the industry, being part of what it is. I think it's a great part of, in a great direction that we're going to. I personally do think that you guys are going to take this a lot further than what men are, because we just got to a point where it's time, where it's absolute time, for that to happen. So, Um, anything else you want to add?
It's a very interesting perspective, and I appreciate it. Thank you for that.
No, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. There's no
The
reason to thank
recognition
you
is
guys.
very
Are
nice.
good,
Yeah,
good.
absolutely.
So,
Thank you. It was wonderful being here.
well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for being here. You'll definitely, we're gonna be seeing each other. This is the first day you guys just got
Yeah.
here,
Yeah.
so we
We'll see
got
you all week.
the whole
Yeah.
week,
Yeah.
the whole week.
Yeah.
But if there's anything that you want to say to everyone,
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for chiming in and the questions and all the responses. It was really fun. The support here is really great. I am relatively new to the education industry, and it's really nice to have the support and the people here who want to listen to what I have to say. So it's amazing. So thank you. Yeah.
absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being here. As for now, guys, thank you so much for sticking around. All your questions and all your support. Again, if you guys are here, you haven't enjoyed, you haven't subscribed, please do. We're gonna be doing these as much as we can. This year, one of the things that we're doing, we will be launching Gikoto Academy, which is something that I'm very, very excited about. And I'll talk a little bit more here pretty soon about what that's gonna be. But it's basically gonna be free education. So if you're subscribed to our channel, we're gonna be putting a lot of that stuff out there with great educators as Esteban. Mandy's gonna make presents and all these little things, all these little nuggets that we talked about that they're gonna be sharing with all of you guys. So again, subscribe, yeah, and join us in all of our lives, and obviously watch the videos so we can grow the community. As with everything else, thank you guys so much for being um, part of this small community, of the small company that hopefully we're doing what you guys want us to, but that's what we're here for. Again, thank you for everything, and we will see you very soon. Peace.